Call the regular RTM meeting to order. It's Wednesday, May 11th, and it is 7:02 p.m. Town Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Okay, everybody ready to say that you're here when I call your name, please? Karen Adams. Here. Bailey. Robert Bailey.
He's up there.
Oh, there you are. I see you. Okay. Burrell. Here. Bright. Here. Casper. Here. Surf. I see
She's
you.
here.
I see you,
She
Surf. Oh, there she is. She's got her head down. Chase. Here. Cop. Crockett Hubbard. Thank you. Here. Dean Shinbrot. Dean Shinbrot. She'll probably be here later. Evan. Frickman. Fritchie. Fritchie's here. Okay. Gardner. Nope.
Smarty.
Gothier.
Here.
Absolutely.
Guinapiero.
Here.
Gustafson. Hainline. Hainline. There you are. Hanscom.
Here.
Ivy. I see you, Ivy. Jacome. Massett. Merritt. Norman. Norman. Nope. Aubry. K. Powers.
She'll be late.
Okay. S. Powers.
Here.
Pacino.
Here.
Ray. Scott.
He'll be late.
He's
Oh,
here.
he's online.
Yep. Cimarero.
He's online.
Thank you. Thomas.
Here.
V.C. Williams.
Here.
Watson.
Here.
Weaver.
No.
Nope. Okay. Wells.
Here.
White. Here. Whitney.
Here.
Rusk.
Here.
31. And let's see. Did I miss anyone? I got you, Surf. Don't worry.
Ivy's here too, sorry.
Ivy, yes, I got you too. Thank you. Okay.
If we could all stand, please, for a moment of silence. Representative Chase, if you could please lead the Pledge of Allegiance. For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just want to take a moment to send out condolences to Deputy Town Clerk Dawn Riley. Her son passed away this last week, so if you could just keep her and her family in your prayers and thoughts. First thing on our agenda is public petitions. This is the time for citizens are welcome to, this is the portion of the R.T.M. agenda where the R.T.M. welcomes comments from the public. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes and if possible, submitted in written comment. Presentations should be limited to matters pertinent to the town of Groton. The moderator or members through the moderator shall ask questions only to clarify the speaker's presentation. Responses may be given by the moderator and/or the town manager. Citizens should state their name and address for the record. Is there anybody here who would like to speak? Please come up.
Point of order. Sorry. Looking at the agenda, I thought we had to approve the minutes first.
It's not on this agenda. The agenda's been amended. Revised. If you could come up, please. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a list. I'm sorry. If Margie Gookins can come up first, please. Good evening.
Oh,
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Margie Gookins, 26 Daniel Brown Drive, Mystic, Connecticut. I'm Councilor Franco's mother, as well as a commissioner on the CDAC committee. Tonight I'm here to speak to you as a citizen, a taxpayer, and a voter in the town of Groton. I watch every town council meeting, and I recently started watching the R.T.M, which is extremely eye-opening for me. On May 3rd, I spoke for the first time at the town council meeting during the ARPA public meeting hearing. Much to my surprise, the next speaker was Representative Ian Thomas, who for the first time disclosed that he was an R.T.M member. That same night during the redistricting public hearing, he then disclosed he was Councilor Bordelon's husband. Later, at citizens' comments, he disclosed that he was Councilor Bordelon's campaign manager. Then came Representative Genevieve Cerf, who did not disclose that she holds an elected position on the R.T.M. As an elected official, it's always your duty to disclose any potential perceived conflict and to state your standing in our community. Both Representative Thomas and Cerf routinely make negative comments to the town councilors, town staff, and anyone else they may perceive as not being transparent. I would suggest you both practice what you preach and be transparent regarding your own positions. At the same event, I spoke about ARPA funding and my beliefs on how the council should proceed. Surprisingly, both Representative Ian Thomas and Representative Genevieve Cerf spoke after me and made a point to state that they did not agree with me. Representative Cerf actually went further and stated, quote, "The last woman that spoke was wrong," end quote. She then went on a long ramble regarding why she opposed my comments, while also misrepresenting my comments. I never would have thought that an elected official would ever deem themselves to be so correct that they would feel free to tell any citizen or public speaker at a hearing that their opinions are wrong. As elected officials, you should always welcome citizens who come out to speak, whether you agree or not. An elected official should never make a citizen feel unwelcome or demean their thoughts at any public hearing. I respectfully ask that other R.T.M members disclose your positions when you speak publicly. We, the voters, would like to know who you are and what you stand for. Thank you for listening to me tonight, and thank you for your service to our town. I fully appreciate all of your time and dedication, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Glenn Gallino?
Hi, everyone. My name is Glenn Gallino. I live at 67 Steamboat Wharf, which is in downtown Mystic. For those of you that don't know where that is, it's basically the docks that run across the Groton side of the Mystic River. I'm here tonight just to briefly talk about the Mystic Coastal Public Access Plan. I believe that's an item on the agenda, if I'm not mistaken, that about adding or.
CIP.
Okay, so I guess you guys are going to talk about increasing a budget to talk about, what you guys want to do with the Mystic Coastal Access Plan. I just want to let you folks know that part of that plan involves, or at least what has been proposed, involves wrapping the pilings in front of our condo, and also other signage, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I want you all to understand, I should also mention that I represent the 18 owners at Steamboat Wharf. I want you all to understand that we are in no way interested in poo-pooing downtown's prosperity. We love the idea that we want to bring more people in town, and we hope things will, this program will benefit downtown merchants, et cetera, et cetera. But what we are opposed to is our property and putting signs on our property, signs which we feel will diminish the value of our land, and also, in our opinion, is not very, doesn't look that nice, to put it mildly. So my opinion would be we should vote on, spending that money on things like police officers, because the vandalism, I think a month ago, somebody untied the Argia And if it wasn't for the keen thinking of Amy, the owner of the Argia, who put a chain on the piling, that boat would have floated, into the Mystic Drawbridge. So again, I thank you for your time. I just want to let you folks know that when it comes to wrapping our pilings or putting any signage on our property, we will be vehemently opposed to that. Thank you very much for your time and your hard work.
Thank you.
That was-
Is there anybody else who would like to speak that isn't signed up? Seeing none, we will move forward to reception of communication. I have 3 items. The 3 items are a fourth quarter transfer, an ordinance to changing and redefining the voting districts in the town of Groton, and an ordinance number 959, a tax abatement program for surviving spouse of a police officer, firefighter, or emergency medical technician. The other one is, ordinance 194. I'm going to refer all 3 of these ordinances to the Finance Committee for review, and then we will discuss them at the next meeting. What's the third ordinance? What's the third one? The first one is fourth quarter transfers. Then there's 2 ordinances. Ordinance number 194 and ordinance number 295. Okay? Is there any other receipt of citizen, or of comments? Representative Watson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. I think we all received an email maybe today from the town clerk, from a former moderator of the RTM, J.C. Amlaws, requesting that we look at Rule 6.3. It's a pretty lengthy letter. I think it maybe warrants attention. I would welcome a referral to the Rules Procedures Committee to discuss this.
Thank you. My apologies. I have not been able to check all my emails late tonight.
Read it in order to refer it.
Okay, the email states, "Good evening, Groton RTM. I come today to respectfully request the change of Rule 33 rules to the RTM, specifically Rule 6.3. The moderator may appoint such special committees or representatives as in their opinion may be necessary, and may designate the chair thereof." Okay, that will be referred to the Rules Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other receipt of comments? Okay, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Representative Powers, a second?
Second, Bright.
Representative Bright, we are adjourned. With that, I will reconvene the special meeting of the annual budget meeting of the RTM. It is 7:16.
Ready to take roll?
Ready to take roll.
Okay, taking roll. Adams? Here. Bailey?
Here.
Burrell? Bright?
Here.
Guys, if we can please hold the comments.
Yeah, it's important that, because the microphones feed right into Zoom, and it upsets what is happening in their homes. Okay, Casper?
Here.
Surf? She's here.
Representative Cerf?
Yeah, I see her, right there.
Yep.
Okay. Chase?
Here.
Cop? Here. Crockett Hubbard? She's here also. I see her. Dean Shinbrot? I see her. Eben? Here. Frickman? I got you, Crockett Hubbard, don't worry. Frickman? Not here. Fritchie?
Here.
Gardner? Gothier?
Here.
Guinipiero?
Here.
Gustafson? Here. Hainline? Hanscom?
Here.
Ivy?
Here.
Jacome? Here. Massett?
Here.
Merritt?
Here.
Norman? Aubry?
Here.
Powers K? Powers S?
Here.
Pacino?
Here.
Ray? Scott?
Here.
Cimarero?
Here.
Thomas?
Here.
VC Williams? Here. Watson?
Here.
Weaver? Here. Wells?
Here.
White? Here. Whitney?
Here.
And Rusk?
Here.
33.
Okay. Thank you all for coming back again tonight. The first thing on our agenda is account 1071, self-funded plans. There were a lot of questions on this, so we are going back to it, hopefully with some more answers. This is on page 86, and the number on the floor is... Do we have any other numbers?
Just the original. I can tell you if we made that motion.
Okay. So there had been some questions. You could
Okay.
put away.
Good evening. Hello, everyone again.
Do you want to reintroduce yourself?
Sure. Arnisha Green, HR Director. Nice to see everyone again. Just a quick background. I know there was a little bit of interest in the history. In 2004, GASB, or the Government Accounting Standards Board, changed the financial reporting requirements, which would eventually require the town to disclose information regarding OPEB. So that's contributions, liabilities, assets. And in general, this helped to pave the way for a change in perspective from pay-as-you-go to contributing amounts when invested in current time, hopefully sufficient to finance the future liabilities of OPEB. And that aligned with the practices as it is for pension funding and how that happens. In fiscal year '05, the town started making general fund contributions for OPEB. And in fiscal year '08, the liability had to be recognized on our financial statements, and the town shifted the focus to really join, I guess, the best practice and the auditor recommended practice of creating the separate fund that we discussed the other night. And that's when the OPEB trust fund was created. One of the important aspects that we discussed a bit from the best practice is that you're building assets or income as you're going along, and it's these investment earnings that help to reduce the future liability when it's reported in the valuation. Having the funds also influences how the actuarial practice actually takes place. It allows the actuarial to assume a higher discount rate, which is the forecast future percent earned, which reduces your future liabilities as well. And then, I think we mentioned this last time, having OPEB funding positively influences the credit rating during our financial reviews, which is important when we go out for bonds. Sorry, I'm just getting over a little frog. Some prior questions that I recall we discussed included a question on how much it would take to get to the 50%. So I was able to find out that if we do the suggested funding we were discussing the other night, that would bring us to 51.8%. And another question was, where would we kind of reach that goal? So we started the 30-year amortization period at 7107, so 7137. At this current valuation, we're projected to be 98.9% funded, and obviously with each valuation every year, that can change subject to the stock market and what has happened in that particular year, but that's the projection for now. And there was a question, I believe, in the past, what we had earned in the most recent valuation percentage, excuse me, and it's the valuation percentage, was 8.22 allotted for the most recent year from a percentage perspective. Was there anything in particular anyone wanted to dive into with that?
Are there any questions? Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just a quick question, Director Douglas, or Green, I'm sorry. So let's see, so the history that we have here in this report only dates back to about 2012, looks like, unless I missed something. What, you said the fund dates back to 2004 was when it started in its current incarnation? Or was there?
08 was the separate. Prior to that, there was some funding to general fund, I believe.
So 2008 was kind of the reboot? Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any, Representative Eben?
Yeah, this is a point of information or clarification. I had in my notes that we had a motion on the floor in the amount of $10,815,847.
Can you give me the number again?
$10,815,847.
847?
47, yeah, 847. 815, 815, sorry, I said that right.
No, 815-847.
Thank you. Do we have the minutes on?
No, I'd have to sign into my town, in it. No, I don't have minutes with me.
Do we remember the thinking about why?
If we don't have the minutes with it. Yes, Sean, Representative Powers.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think if Representative Scott is with us, he could probably explain that number. I believe it was he who made the motion to put that in there. I'm not specifically saying it was him, but I think that's who made the motion, okay? And I think he should talk to the number, please.
Well, I'm currently driving my car and I don't have my notes in front of me, so I'm unable to answer it at this point.
Okay, thank you, thank you, John.
Representative Thomas.
I don't necessarily want to speak on Representative Scott's behalf, but if I remember correctly, I think the logic was to subtract out the 449,707 from,
The OPEB liability?
yeah, that's what he wanted to take out. I think that's the difference. I don't know,
That
we
sounds
might want to check the
correct.
math on that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And Thomas, were you the second for that?
I believe I was, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Eben. Okay. So the number on the floor at the moment is 10,000, or 10,815,847. I'm going to do a roll call vote.
Is there any more discussion?
So this takes out, oh, I'm sorry, Representative Merritt.
Can't hear you, gotta use it.
Just for information, can I ask what that item encompasses?
It is the OPEB.
Well, it's the whole thing is the self-funded.
It was the line 10713, OPEB liability
Correct.
is what,
Yes, that's the item. What is that?
Excuse me, Madam Moderator, I think the question he wanted to know, what's the whole thing? So that's the self-funded plans, and there are more than one item in there. There's employee benefits, retiree, health benefits, heart and hypertension, and the OPEB liability. And the motion, the amendment on the floor is removing the $449,707 of the OPEB funding.
so is your question, what is that 440?
What is the OPED funding? What is it?
Yes.
So that's what we were discussing just now, and I know we recessed last time on it. This is a separate trust fund, and it's 40-something%, I think 46% funded, and we're working on building that up so that we're able to. Oh, okay, thank
Yeah, I
you.
think it's
So other post-employment benefits are covering the liability for employees once they're no longer actively employed, so it's anything they're entitled to afterwards. So in this case, the majority of that is retiree insurance, health insurance.
Oh, I thought it was their spouses.
Well, as included by each contractor, what they're entitled to, but it's really capturing, the point of OPEB is to recognize it as a current liability, even though the employee is no longer employed, and it will be in the future that they may be collecting it.
So if that's a contractorial benefit, can we remove it here on the floor?
So this is funding a fund we hope to be able to be self-sufficient in addition to the amounts that we're paying for claims.
I understand, but if That's a contractorial benefit.
There's really two pieces. We've got a separate fund to actually pay the current. This is putting away for the future to build up interest to pay later. So we're gonna have to pay eventually, but this is building it up in advance, putting away to savings so you can earn some interest.
So if it's removed, then you'll have to find it somewhere else because it is a contractorial benefit.
I just give you my perspective on it, because I did speak to the director, and she really explained it to me to make me understand. So, what the goal is that we won't be budgeting an amount in the future. We'll have this fund that we can take from, and it won't hurt our budget. It's the goal. Whether we'll get there, who knows, but that's the goal.
And we'll continue
Yes.
to feed into it, of course,
Right,
so
but
that
it
it's a
won't- but not at
cyclical,
the giant
but it
level we
won't
are
be,
right now.
you know,
Right.
separate items. We're working on getting there.
Yeah, not $2 million a year, though.
Right.
Who knows what it'll be.
Representative Thomas.
Comparative.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So, yeah, and this fund, we have to get to a certain threshold in order for it to be able to have the intended effect, correct?
That's correct.
And that threshold is so a certain percentage of its, 100% would be a certain number, but in order for this fund to take effect and be effective and not get drained, it would have to.
I apologize.
Oh, that's all right, sorry. It would have to, like, there's an approximate, do you have an approximate percentage we'd have to get to in order for the fund to become activated?
As it gets higher, that's something we discuss with the actuary. I know the pension is at least at 80% right now, and we're currently utilizing that. Not to say that's the threshold, but we have to get to a higher percentage before we even consider doing that.
And just one final closing point. So in theory, that once this fund takes effect, if we get to that threshold and cross that threshold and it starts paying out, then this line item, well, actually, it would be the 10,800,000, like minus the payment to the OPEB. That would be off the books. That would no longer be a line item that we have to pay out of pocket, so to speak. It'd be coming from the investment fund.
Yeah, it might be reduced. You'll always have to put something in just to keep it perpetuating. It's not, you know, you leave it alone, you're going to run out eventually if you don't put anything in it. But it won't be separate like it is now.
Okay, so in theory, like, we could actually, like, get down to, like, maybe $500,000 or $1 million, like, going into the fund a year to kind of maintain.
I don't want to guess what it's going to look like in the future.
Yeah, well, you know, again, approximately, or in theory, like, there would be a certain, much smaller percentage than what we're paying now out of pocket.
That's the goal.
If this fund gets to that threshold. But the risk is that over time, it's dependent on the stock market, right? So that stock market, like, if we went into a deep recession, could this account lose value?
Any account in the stock market can lose value.
And so we could lose the progress that we've made towards paying this off.
And that's why, with generally speaking, even personal finances, the stock market is a longer term. You look at it, it ebbs and flows like everything else. Comes up, comes down, and you keep it there. You don't pull it out and try to adjust. You're leaving it there for the long term, and you do the best you can with that. And that's a commonly used item for most of the world, I'm going to say, in many of the investments.
Yeah, thank you. And recently, with the 2020 situation, was there a reduction in value of this account?
I'm still working on getting access to actually log in, but I just know from being a consumer and a citizen that year to date, not so great in the stock market. Even fiscal year to date, not the best, but again, riding those ebbs and flows.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Representative Cerf.
Unmute.
Representative Cerf.
Do you have to unmute, Representative Cerf?
I'm going to move on to Representative Eben while you work on unmuting. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I had to switch to my phone because
Okay, that's
my
okay.
computer audio wasn't working. So with respect to the OPED fund, which I think I don't have it right in front of me because I've been working on my audio, but it's my understanding that this OPED fund it was started back in the days when I was on the council, and it was not a requirement by the state that we fund it in any particular way. They suggested that we fund this contribution to retiree health benefits in addition to our completely funding the retiree pensions. However, they didn't say how much we had to put in there, and I know that we were very aggressive in funding this fund, as much as the town of Greenwich, which is the richest town in Connecticut, and we're nowhere near as rich as Greenwich. Many towns, I had looked it up on the state directory, hadn't started to fund theirs at all. So it's not a requirement that we fund this fund at this rate. And what I would like to point out is this happens to be a particularly bad year for our budget, because even though the manager managed to make the mill rate the same as it was last year, when you multiply the mill rate by the new revaluation of your home, you will find, and you multiply the mill rate times the old evaluation of your home, you're going to find a gigantic increase in your tax bill. So it's not the mill rate that you should look at. It's the actual multiplication of the mill rate by your assessment, you know, this year and last year. And you'll see that's going to make a big difference. I'm very reluctant to try to fund these funds, which we don't need to fund this year, in a year when we have such a large tax increase, and also in a year where the stock market, I think I don't need to point this out to people, is diving at a rate that is absolutely unbelievable, and it's not going to pull out of this downspin. And these funds are very much affected by the stock market, because when we had the 2008 crash, our pension fund, which was 100% funded, went down to being like 60 or 70% funded. And we had to put millions more to reboost that pension fund back to 100%. So if we put money in this year, it's probably going to be lost money anyway. I mean, I'm saying that. I have no proof of that because we have good managers and actuarial people. But I think this is an amount that we can live without. And since I don't have the budget amount right in front of me, I'd like somebody else to move that OPEB contribution to 0, and I'll second it.
It's already on the floor. Thank you, Representative Cerf. Representative Eben.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
You already did that?
It's already been, yeah.
Maybe you mentioned this when you first spoke, Director Green, but where is this invested and what kind of interest is it getting? Who's doing the investing of this account?
She doesn't have access to it.
It's through,
I can't hear who's speaking very well now.
formerly ICMA, it's now Mission Square, but I don't have access to the account yet. It's a process for me to be named as a administrator to see actual live time where we're at with it.
So you don't know what kind of return on investment we're getting at this point?
Not currently, no.
Okay, but you are, this says that we do have, as of July last year, we had $27,195,841 in that account, is that correct?
That's, yeah, comes from
But we
the
don't know what it is at this point, almost a year later.
I have not been able to get access to it yet.
But your understanding is it is invested in the stock market, not in a defined contribution type of, a more risk-free investment kind of strategy.
I don't know the different funds it's in because each fund has a different risk value basically to it. So I don't have access to that at the current time.
If we could keep comments. Director Landry, do you have any information on this? That's fine. You're fine.
It is, as the director indicated, it is invested with Mission Square ICMA. They were one of the first that were able to put together the trust fund that's required for the OPEB account. We do have the actuarial report done on that every year. It's due as of July 1st, 21. That's the latest report that's reflected in here with the 27 million. We did not, I do have access to the report. I did not run the report as the value of today. But looking at what's going on in the market, I would expect that we would have lost some funding in it, as well as with the pension.
Yeah. No, I just, because I've lost on all my, retirement accounts, so.
Right.
That's why I was curious where it was invested. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Gauthier. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. This is a savings account. This is a retirement account. In bad years, you don't reduce your savings. You don't stop planning for retirement. You cut your expenses. This isn't some kind of extra expense for the town. This is necessary. And if you were looking at the age distributions that was in that packet that we were sent, our employees are on the older end of the spectrum. We're looking in 3 years to be nearly doubling the payouts that we have coming out of this account from $2 million this year to 3.7 in just 2 or 3 years, it looked like. You're going to lose out on interest. Sure, stock markets fluctuate. You lose a little bit here and there. But overall, the grand curve, you're gaining. And skipping a year when it's bad, that's easy to do. But every year is bad, right? Every year we complain about having to adjust the mill and all of these expenses. This is not a responsible thing to cut. There are much more, there are other items that would be much less consequential to cut. So I strongly urge the members of this body to think long range, even the next 5-10 years, those employees that are going to be retiring. Think about that, and think about that when we have some other frivolous items come up. Thank you.
Representative Weaver.
Director Green, with all due respect, at this specific meeting, I recollect asking you what the interest rate was on the 27-195-841, and you had stated you would get it for the next meeting. And while I respect that you're new and that you don't have access to it, I would think that someone else could have done that between then and now, because that was a question on the floor. Also, I think, I'm not assuming what Mr. Scott, his rationale for reducing it by the $449,707, he, I think, said that it was just an additional savings account. So it would be really interesting to see what that interest rate is, because while this is for our retirees, the town overall, the community members are going to be impacted by the mill rate. And so far, I realize I missed the last meeting, but I don't see where we've been cutting any funds anywhere. And since this is a savings account and it seems to be doing pretty well, I would suggest reducing this. Thank you.
Representative V.C. Williams.
So I just wanted to make sure that everyone considers, we're talking about the stock market and how it goes up and down. If we're putting this away for long term and we're looking at interest, you have to understand that if you're putting something in the stock market while the stock market is down, your returns are actually going to be greater long term. It's just something I wanted to consider, but I do agree with the fact that we do have to find ways to cut, and these are some big increases that we've got this year, in a year that's going to be very hard for everyday people. And if we could really just dig into all the numbers as much as possible, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Representative Jacome.
Yeah, I would agree with somewhat with the last representative, that we need to take advantage of the stock market currently, especially as it's down. And I mean, putting it in, that's how we get the compound interest. This is stuff we need, and it's going to save us in the future. So thank you. I'm in support of the full amount.
Representative Cerf. You're muted. Representative Cerf, you're muted.
Unmute, okay. The way the mill rate is here is really tricky, and it's an illusion, because your taxes are actually going to go up by the same percentage as the assessment of your property went up, because your tax is equal to the mill rate times the assessment. So if the mill rate this year is the same as the mill rate last year.
Okay, Representative Cerf, I'm going to ask you to keep, Representative Cerf, I'm going to ask you to keep your comments to the pending motion, please. Representative Cerf, I'm going to ask you to keep your comments to the pending motion. not the overall budget and how much taxes are going to change. Can we focus on this motion? You're muted. Representative Surf, you're muted.
Unmute. Yes, this has to do exactly with this budget item, because this is the one budget item we can cut without hurting anyone, and we can help enormously with saving people on their taxes, which are going to be an incredible sticker shock to them this year. The mill rate is meaningless. Your assessment is everything. The increase in your assessment is going to be exactly proportional to the increase in taxes. And may I remind you, I have a PhD in electrical engineering from Columbia.
Representative Surf.
As an assistant professor there. I can do this easy math. And Joe Burrill, who's sitting with you, will be able to vouch for the fact that I've been preaching about this mill rate and assessment business and how it's all calculated. And I do know what I'm talking about here.
Thank you, Representative Surf.
The numbers have not been presented properly. We need
Representative
this
Surf.
tax cut, and we can cut this amount without any suffering to anybody. The interest
Thank you,
rate
Representative
right now
Surf.
is like 1 or 2%. It's not going to help us at all. The increase in your taxes is going to be huge.
Okay.
And
Thank
you
you.
need to
Representative
help the rest of
Bailey?
this town, because the people are getting a break.
Representative Bailey?
Could I just mention
Yes.
that what she was saying was incorrect? That was completely off on the taxes, but we've shown that in other earlier presentations. I won't go into that.
Okay.
In terms of it reflecting the actual assessment increase, it's nowhere close. It's nothing. What's that? Sure. In terms of the average residential assessment increase was about 32%, whereas the current budget would be a 7.51% tax increase. So they're not correlated directly, like mentioned.
Representative Bailey?
Thank you very much. It's definitely a moral decision, and it's tough. And you know, when I kind of think about, like, when I'm on the boat, regardless of agreements, we're still on the same boat, and there's no way to get out. And I think for this year, we would I think it would be correct to, under the circumstances, so to speak, on submarines, to zero out this budget for this line item. And that's how I feel about it. I'm going through both motions because I know how everybody feels about it. But I think we are in an extremis, and it's going to continue to be that way. And there's one of those type of sayings that we have on the submarines. It's one boat, one crew, one screw. And we kind of joke about it, but that's the only way to get through a tough situation that I think we're all going to experience. So I would unfortunately be in favor to zero out this line item, and that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Bailey. Representative Scott?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I apologize for being late today. I just had to come from New Jersey from an appointment. The question was asked where the number came from, and I think it was addressed, but I'll just clarify it. I was taking out $449,000, which is the deposit into essentially the savings account, and that's how I got to the $10,815,000 and change. I feel that this isn't the year for us to be putting any money in any savings account. Representative Surf is correct in some of our assertions about how this impacts, how these numbers are going to impact our taxes based on what the assessments, you can't hear me, what the assessments are doing. I've actually been working on a spreadsheet. The average increase in your assessment based on the mill rate as it came out of the council, which is, according to the town manager, was 21.16. Your average tax bill increase is $244. So obviously some people are going to have more, some people are going to have less. But when you add it to, like I was just in New Jersey, which is probably the cheapest fuel, gas, and diesel prices you'll find anywhere in the Northeast. Diesel fuel is $6.43 a gallon. Gasoline is $4 something a gallon. Add that to the cost of groceries. Add that to the cost of the fuel oil I just had delivered to my house. 115 gallons was $725. We've got to find a way to make some cuts. We can't be part of the inflation problem. So I highly support this number, and I would encourage my colleagues to vote for it as well. Thank you.
Representative Pacino.
I think we're all pretty much sure what we're going to vote on this. Can we move to vote?
We can, if you want to.
Well, I think we'd get there without that vote, don't you?
Are we all ready to move? The
Let's
vote?
just do it.
I'm going to just go forward. So the number on the floor is $10,815,847. We're going to do a roll call vote.
Okay. Yes, no, or abstention. Adams. Yes. Bailey.
Yes.
Burrell.
No.
Bright.
Yes.
Casper.
No.
Surf.
Yes.
Chase.
Yes.
Cop.
No.
Crockett Hubbard. Yeah, she's there. She's right here. Crockett Hubbard, we'll come back to you while you figure out to unmute. Dean Shinbrot.
Yes.
Eben.
Yes.
Fritchie.
Yes.
Gothier. Representative Gothier?
No.
I'm sorry, say that again?
She said no.
No.
Thank you. Guinipiero.
Yes.
Gustafson.
No.
Hanscom.
Yes.
Ivy.
No.
Jacome.
No.
Massett.
No.
Merritt. No. Aubry.
No.
Powers.
No.
Pacino.
No.
Scott.
Yes.
Cimarero.
No.
Thomas.
Yes.
V.C. Williams.
Yes.
Watson.
No.
Weaver.
Yes.
Wells.
No.
White. Whitney.
No.
Rusk.
No. Phew. And who did you miss?
I missed Crockett Hubbard, if she could unmute or open her camera and give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. There she is.
Yes.
Yes, okay. That's 15
That-
yes
Yeah, that motion
and
fails.
18 no.
15 yes, 18 no, no abstentions. The next number on the floor is 11,265,554.
Adams.
No.
Bailey.
No.
Burrell.
Yes.
Bright.
Yes.
Casper.
Yes.
Surf.
Yes.
Chase.
No.
Cop.
Yes.
Crockett Hubbard. Crockett Hubbard. Dean Shinbrot.
No.
Eben.
Yes.
Frickman's not here. Fritchie.
Yes.
Gothier.
Yes.
Guinipiero.
No.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hanscom.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Jacome. Massett.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Norman. Oops. Aubry.
Yes.
Powers.
Yes.
Pacino.
Yes.
Scott.
No.
Cimarero.
Yes.
Thomas.
No.
V.C. Williams.
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Weaver.
No.
Wells.
Yes.
White. Whitney.
Yeah.
And Rusk.
Yes.
24.
And then
to 8.
Crockett
And,
Hubbard?
Crockett Hubbard, can you open your mic or give me a thumbs up or thumbs down? Representative Crockett Hubbard.
That motion passes 24 to 8 to
And
0.
with one not voting.
With one abstention.
Well, she's
Well,
just not voting, it's just
Okay,
a no
then we're
vote.
just going to do
Yeah.
24 to
8.
8.
And one not voting. Oh, how'd you vote, Crockett Hubbard? On the full amount?
Yes.
Yes, okay, there you go, 25.
25 to 8 to 0. Thank you. Okay. Next up is account 1080, education on page 166.
And here's the chairman now.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The Education Committee had a special meeting on April 28th.
Can I ask you to move the microphone really close to your
Yeah.
face because people online are not going to be able
That's
to
good.
hear you?
Is that
Thank
better?
you.
Good.
Thank
I'll
you.
start again. The Education Committee met on April 28th for a special meeting to consider the budget items. And we called it to order at 7:30 p.m. And I'm reading the minutes now. The roll call, Representatives Chase, Frickman, Junipero, Gustafson, and Whitney present. Representative V.Z. Williams absent. Quorum with 5 of 6 members present. Also in attendance, Superintendent Austin, Board of Education Chair Watson, other Groton Public Schools administrators and staff, and other Board of Education members. New business, 2022-207-1, R.T.M. Education Committee FYE 2023 Budget Account Review. Account 1080, Education, page 166, and Board of Education book. Original motion by Representative Gustafson to recommend $79,157,271 for account 1080. Education, for account 1080 education. It's seconded by Representative Whitney. The rationale, this is the amount passed by the town council. The first amended motion by Representative Chase to recommend $77,438,090, seconded by Representative Junipero. Rationale, this is the amount passed last year. It would reduce the overall town budget and reduce tax increases. Second amended motion by Representative Whitney to represent $79,007,820, seconded by Representative Chase. Rationale, this subtracts out funds associated with the new elementary assistant principal position from the originally moved number. Second amended motion failed, 1 in favor, 4 opposed, and no abstentions. Representative Frickman in favor, all other representatives opposed. First amended motion failed, 1 in favor, 4 opposed, and no abstentions. Representative Chase in favor, all other representatives opposed. Original motion passed, 3 in favor, 2 opposed, and no abstentions. Representatives Frickman, Gustafson, and Whitney in favor, Representatives Chase and Junipero opposed. The discussion covered a wide range of questions and comments from committee members, answers, and information from the superintendent, Board of Education chair, Groton Public Schools staff, and other Board of Education members. Topics included minimum budget requirements, alliance districts and anticipated transition from this status, funding sources including federal impact aid and ARC-ESSER funds, contractual salary and benefit increases, the added assistant principal position, budget changes associated with newly opened schools, per student spending and projected student enrollments, school supplies, increases in the transportation budget, health reserve funds, and other topics. That's the portion of the minute for this account. And so, if it's okay, I'd like to move the number we recommend. I move $79,157,271 for account 1080, education.
Second by Representative Gustafson. Any comments? Representative Chase.
I'd like to put another number on the floor, please. $77,438,090.
Would you like to speak to your motion?
She's getting stuff ready.
Yes, thank you. With the Groton 2020 plan, we were promised savings. So far, we haven't seen that. We're now paying for those schools for 20 years. So now we need to give the town a break and let them take care of the rest of the town so that we can, fix up our infrastructure and get everything the way we need it to be. So there's a $1.7 million increase they're requesting this year. And they have $2 million in DOD money that can be used for any manner. So if the $77 million goes through this year and they feel like they can't, everybody's got to tighten their belts, like Representative Scott said. We can't keep increasing this budget and not seeing any savings that we were promised. The documents that were sent to us today showing the FTEs that were reduced by closing Pleasant Valley, consolidating the middle school and magnet schools. It says 23 FTEs were eliminated, which equals out to about $6 million. And I don't know where that, I work with budgets on a daily basis, and I don't know where $6 million is saved when they're increasing. So I would like that explained, and most of these other documents that were submitted today are sent out to us today. But we got the schools where we need them to be. Now we have to get the rest of the town where it needs to be, because in years past, when we need to cut money, it always is the CIPs, and the rest of the town is just gonna fall down if we don't get going on this. So that's my rationale for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent Austin, Chair Shepherdson and Watson, do you want to come on up and?
So as I told the RTM, when I first proposed my first increase, it was 3.4%, and that was strictly with salaries and benefits. Our board did due diligence going through item by item. We cut 4 teaching positions, which is going to affect the high school. Will have larger class sizes, and some things might not run. We did a variety of things, adjusting severances and retirements without replacement, as I said. We also adjusted health insurance. We were given a bigger bill because we have bigger schools. So John Burt told us, as I was finishing up the budget, that we would owe another about $50,000 to insure these new schools. So there are costs affiliated even with new schools. Board agency placements are down, so we have really brought back a lot of our kids to this community. And if you looked at some of my presentations, you see that we have probably one of the most efficient districts when you look at the per pupil spending. And we do I go after many grants, which has afforded us, this incredible instruction and these, new themed magnet schools. So, we're able to do wonderful education. I would say some of the best education in the state. And I would say that I gave you several charts, and I don't know if that's worthy of putting up for the whole group. If you wanted to look at that, it's up to you.
I was just wondering, I received that today, and I sent it out to the RTM education committee members, and then the town clerk and the RTM moderator. I left it up to your discretion if it was sent out to the other members. I don't know if it was.
It was sent to all members, and I believe the town manager has it ready to go. If you, yeah, you have to
I
tell
think
which one you wanna go.
Representative Chase had mentioned the positions eliminated through Groton 2020.
So he can put those up on the
Yeah, if we
screen.
could go through those, because I know personally, I went straight from work to here,
Yeah,
so
I
I haven't not had a
apologize, yeah.
chance to even look at that.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
And I think my business director is online, if you can give him an opportunity to speak. Ken Knight?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you can make it any bigger. My eyes aren't that good, but I have.
Magnify that at all, please.
It's a roll, control and roll.
There we go.
And I'll give my
better,
simplest
thank you.
explanation of the difference between cost savings and cost avoidance. When you close a school the first year and you eliminate positions because of the closure of the school and you're able to make it more efficient, that's a cost savings that first year. If I continue to not have those positions, like the 23 that we see with the closure, then that's a cost avoidance. So bottom line, the cumulative cost savings and avoidances is totals up to $6,057,000. So I don't know, is Ken Knight there that he can,
He is here, but
I am here, Susan.
thank you, Ken.
I think you gave a very good explanation of the difference between cost savings and avoidance.
I think, though, that what we've done is not only Pleasant Valley closing, but the middle school consolidation and then the magnet school consolidation totals the total of 23 positions, all in all. That was our Groton 2020 that so many of you, I look around the room, helped support that initiative of excellence, of efficiency, and of equity. And we did what we set out to do. Our schools are mirrors of this community. They have excellent programs, and we have really been able to run them efficiently. And we don't have all the CIPs because we don't have all the older buildings. The only one I have is really the vintage side of Fitch and also Charles Barnum. So they're beautiful buildings. And next time we have an open house, I'll take you for a tour.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I have a few questions, Superintendent Austin. My question is this: I'm just using a hypothetical question here. If you have 10 senior teachers retiring, and let's just throw out the number 80,000 as their salary, and they retire, so that's $800,000, and you hire 10 new teachers at 40,000. There's a savings of 400,000. Like, well, none of us in this room are math wizards. I'm not, and I'm not going to claim to be. But I think with everything that the town, and it's not me, it's all of us in the town, have done, was to build you schools. When Dr. Grenier was here, he said, look, we need this infrastructure, we need the buildings, we need to be able to educate our students, and we've done a wonderful job. And we did that, and I think everybody in this room pulled together to give the school system what they needed. I think we all would like to know how we can keep this number so that the minimum budget requirement it continually goes up. And as you've heard, you've sat here and you've been online, we have a lot of people telling us, both in our district, I'm in the military district, I want the schools to be good. We're going to get a whole bunch of more kids here.
Yeah,
Maybe not
Columbia
in
classes here.
but you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We have to keep the numbers in line to get all of us together so that we find cost savings in what we put out, because 20 years of bonding is a long, long time, and we have older people that are here that, they're on fixed incomes. And that's what we're really asking for. I don't think anybody wants to see your budget cut, but we can't go, how much higher are we going to go? I mean, every year we're going to come in, we're going to have more, and we're going to see more. So I'd like a couple of those answers, So, and the Alliance District is a whole nother thing. If that comes out, that's $3 million for that, or whatever it is, right? I mean, it's just, there's a lot of gray area for all of us.
So, as I said, when you have a staff like we have, you do have contracts. We have this minimum wage hanging over us, and if any of you are in business, you know that there's a date on that. So there are increases that we have to have, but we did have 4 retirements at Fitch, and we didn't fill them. So that was a a big efficiency that this board took in order to not have a 3.4%. But we have to be able to run our schools. We can't just go and lay off people. We have very full classrooms, and we need to take care of our students. That's what we give our kids in school is their teachers. So the expenses that there are literally expenses that I need to run the school next year. We are not going to be an alliance. We are actually, I had done a testimony, and I got our representatives together, and they did their due diligence. I had said to the State Department when they first came to me about being a graduate of Alliance, I said, what data were you using? And we know that that $25 million is at stake if we go off Alliance. So they reevaluated, and it's passed, and the governor was signing that we are continuing to stay on for the next 5 years as an alliance. 3 others are added on, but we are still on that. So I know that that will continue with the benefits that come. One of the benefits is $500,000 that will go directly to the town next year. We're a pilot, tiered pilot. The other benefit I would say that we've received $4 million in impact aid that goes directly to the town on top of all the other impact aid that we use to secure the budget. So there are a lot of things that have come to the town in the way of education to support the town. So, that was another chart that I had in here that I wanted you to see. And, I got to thank Congressman Courtney because he's done some really good work to help us with that.
Are we getting more money from?
Hold on.
Are we getting more
Hold
money
on,
from?
Hold on, Representative Powers, then that's your second time being recognized.
All right, pardon me.
Okay. Representative Bright.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm fairly new to this RTM, but I'm looking at one of the things that we got today, and it's DOD grants, and it looks like you have something like $2 million of DOD grants, and I'm curious as to what are you doing with that $2 million?
I didn't pass out a DOD.
I think Representative Chase may have provided that to her caucus.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I thought it was included in, but anyway, Representative Chase just handed me this, and I was just curious. It shows that we've gotten a whole bunch of DOD grants, which looks like it totals somewhere around $2 million.
I don't have the paperwork in front of me, so I can't, I would
And
have
I'm just
appreciated
wondering, if we have the $2 million, can that be used for anything?
So Department of Defense
Right.
funds,
Yeah, that's what it
it's
says.
Supplemental Funds, are used really for technology. We have a one-to-one technology program for our students so that they receive Chromebooks. We've already allocated out of, I think it was 1.7 million at one point, we've already allocated, I think, up to 983 for technology for next year. So we use that for our technology needs, for new boards on the front of the Promethean boards. That's been since I started with Dr. Grenier. That was a really good way. DODEA, Department of Defense, gives us those funds to educate military kids, but we educate all kids, and they all benefit from that. We also have, I've gone after close to $5 million worth of Department of Defense education activity accounts, which are specific to education. So I have to show that it's for a particular purpose. We did one for literacy, one for technology, one for math, one for STEM, and now we have a STEM career. So we've had 5 of these grants. And those are over 5 years. So that's one of the things that has produced this rich education, a lot of embedded coaching for our teachers, the best National Science Foundation programs in math and STEM and NGSS. And the literacy has provided so much enrichment that we've made so much progress that they're going to graduate us. But we have 2 blue ribbon schools in 5 years in Connecticut. That's something to be said about what's happened in Groton.
All right, thank you.
Chair Whitney.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I support the original motion. That's what came out of the Education Committee. It's what the Town Council passed, maybe unanimously. I'm not sure about that. And also, that's what came out of the Board of Ed. For me, I know we got some new files today, but one of the most telling pieces of information is page 166 in your budget book. You all see it. It's the graph over the years of the budget for each year. And if you look at it, it goes from 2017 to 2023. And it's not a matter of, we know expenses go up every year. We're in this economy. But the education budget has not gone up every year. In 2017, 2018, it was $76,468,239. It went up in 2019 to $76,485,922. It went up again in 2020 to $77,438,90. That's the number that's the first amended motion right now. And so now we're talking about several years later trying to think that we can fund our schools at the same level that we did in 2020, a very different reality. Remember, that was passed in 2019 for that year. And this year, it's the original motion is $79,157,271. And the percent increase, I know it's it's over $1 million, of course, that's a large amount, and we should deliberate it. But percent increase, if you look at the other accounts that we've considered and will consider, it's a smaller percent increase than most of those other accounts. And so, and then, I'm not sure what, actually that's in the Board of Education book, the talk of per pupil spending, and I don't know if you'd want to put that up on the screen or not, but it's quite clear that we are efficient in our spending compared to anybody around any of our comparable districts regionally or in our, I think it's a DERG group. So I'd just like to point out that it's clear to me that there have been these efficiencies, and if you want to.
I think the average in 10 years has been a 0.64%. We've done many times 0, 0, something, 0, 0, something. You cannot sustain 0, repeatedly over time, especially when you have contracts. You have the personnel needs that we have, and they have benefits, and you have to pay for those, and those increase each year.
Representative Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you had said earlier. One of the blocks of aid that the education brought in was like $4 million. And it looks like based on the new number, well, the original number, 79, if that gets approved, you're still leaving $2.2 million in the town. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well,
Right.
actually, what's coming to this town, or what's been coming to this town over the past couple years, is $4 million in impact aid. I'm not sure. We reached out to find out where does that go. I don't know where that money goes. It probably goes to the town to support the town.
Right.
And then we have another $500,000 coming because of this alliance status that I fought for and testified for and sent in my testimony and got our representatives together. Should be a politician. Anyways, so we really do have that extra coming to the town because of this school district, $4.5 million.
So yeah, out of the $4.5 million coming to the town, it looks like.
And that's not coming to me.
Right.
That's not coming to the school. That's
Right.
coming to the town. Really to support education, but.
So out of that $4.5 million, the education is only taking 1.8 of it, is what the numbers come out roughly. So I think that's a pretty good deal. Thank you.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The comment, you cannot sustain 0. I think in this economy, everybody in this room is trying desperately to sustain 0 with inflation, with what's happening to potentially to our property tax bills, et cetera. I'm a huge supporter of education. I've been involved in permanent school building and all that stuff. I want to talk about the $6 million savings. I guess I'm not fully understanding the difference between what you're saying here, and I'd like some more details on how you're selling the $6 million, some now, some later. Can you go into more detail on that, please?
So when we first closed Pleasant Valley, we saved 8 positions. When we closed the middle school and consolidated, we saved 12 positions. And you can do an estimate of, $80,000 to $100,000, And then whoops, and then the magnet school consolidation was actually 3 positions. So the total over that time of the Groton 2020, we wanted efficiency, was a savings of 23 positions. When you look at what's avoided in the cost, you have a PV principal that we didn't rehire, she retired. We had teacher cost, custodial secretary at a total of close to $1 million. In the middle school, it was about $748,418. And then at the magnet schools, it was $182,000. So the total was $1,494,000. And then if you look at the cumulative cost savings and avoidances, when you add it all up, you get $6,057,066.
So
And
when
that's over time. So from PV closed, I think in 2016. So if you're looking at avoidances over time, it's cumulative.
So it's not a $6 million a year savings, it's a cumulative
No,
year.
that's the cumulative one.
So,
Yep.
so in theory, so the chart that's on page 166 of our budget book reflects, in 2017, your budget was 76 million and change, and now this year it's going to be $79 million and change. So that cumulative $6 million isn't showing a lower number.
No, you've avoided paying that. That would be on top of what this budget would be.
So what happened to that
If we
money?
didn't close those schools. We'd be adding $6 more million to that number. Did I get that right, Ken?
Yeah, no, you did a very good job. I will add that where did the $6 million go? We have annual increase in the teacher salaries. We've had inflation, even though it hasn't been as high as currently. We've had inflation for the past all these 6 years, and so that eats into those savings.
With a current rate of 5%, is it correct?
The current inflation rate is higher, unfortunately.
Yeah. The last time we talked, I think.
So
Yeah, the last time we talked, it was at 5 years.
So we've got multiple brand new schools that should be more efficient electrically, more efficient for heating oil, gas, or whatever we use to heat them. And yet we're still seeing increases in our budget. The savings just doesn't seem to realize itself, and I think that's frustrating. It feels like it should be bigger and more present in this budget.
Well, the schools are bigger. I just got an extra bill for insurance. They cost more to insure.
A brand new building that's fully sprinkled is more to insure?
Yep.
We need an
And they
insurance company.
cost more to heat and, because they're larger. So we had schools of like 250 to 300. We now have these schools of 600, 2 elementaries of 600, and a middle school that can hold 1,000 or more. So you're talking about, a much larger structure that's gonna take, on the day-to-day basis, but I don't have to put on a new roof. I don't have to ask you for really anything, maybe a couple safety security cameras in addition if we need a hot spot, but really they're easier to maintain.
Okay. So you spoke a minute ago about the DOD funds, and it's been brought up with previous representatives that there's about $2 million.
1.7.
$1.7 million. And then you spoke a minute ago saying you spent 900,000 of it for new computers. So does that realistic?
I said that we're allocating about.
Opens up somebody having us to be criticized.
Matthew Schulman, you're on. Could you mute, please?
So for in the future with the new Promethean boards that we didn't get with the package deal with the new schools, for our old schools to get them up to par, and for the one-to-one initiative that we really have now K through 12, that all kids really have a computer, whether it's in school or it's one that they can take home, middle school and high school.
Okay,
So
but
we've already allocated that. So we're down to about 998, I think, for next year. We've always kept about $1 million, and we usually, because we get about 250 each year, we spend about that 250.
So I guess I'm in this budget year. I really kind of bristle at the idea of having any form of a savings account anywhere in our town budget.
It's not a savings account. It's from Department of Defense to be spent on military children for educational purposes, not
Okay.
for operating a school.
Okay,
So it has a
so if
specific
we can't,
purpose.
so if we were to cut 600,000 with the idea that money could come from
Nope.
the DoD funds?
Nope.
So we're just, I didn't think there were any strings attached to that as long as the military children got educated.
Well, there are that they're for educational purposes.
So the money, if it was spent to cover the light bill, that's educational
I think one time
purpose,
some
isn't it?
superintendent tried to build a field.
Well, no, I'm not
Got
asking
into
you to
trouble.
build a field with it, but I'm asking you to cover the light bill with it or something like that. Can you use it to cover the light bill? If we cut $600,000 out of the budget? So, I think the most frustrating thing frustrating piece of legislation we have in the state of Connecticut is this minimum budget rule. Because it really handcuffs a town. You're looking at again, page 166, you can see how we've tried real hard to control that minimum budget rule. I mean, for 2017 and 2018, it was essentially, even 2019, it was essentially the same number. 2020, it went up a little bit, and it was followed again for like 3 more years. Every time, for those of you who don't know what the minimum budget rule, every time we grant the Board of Education a higher number, that's a permanent number, forever. And it can never go down unless we meet certain circumstances. And could you explain what those circumstances are where we could bring the number down?
I don't know that.
Okay, is it tied to the Alliance District, or is it tied to the number of children in the schools?
Well, the the excess cost grant that we get, the 25 million, is tied with, the Alliance status. So that will continue.
Okay.
We will have that for 5 more years, at least, yeah.
So are we under a different set of rules for minimum budget because of this Alliance District, or, because my understanding is that if the number of children declined, that could be a reason for us to reduce the budget under the minimum requirement. Are you aware of how that
All I
will play
know
out?
is that our numbers are growing, and we do have this Columbia-class submarine being built and stationed here.
Okay.
So we have seen, I'm up to close to 300 kindergartners, and we usually, over the summer, get another 100. So that's about 400. So it, means that our numbers are growing class by class.
Can you speak to some of the things that you have done to save, to keep the budget from going up as?
Point of order. I just want to know what our operating parameters are here. How long can we hold the floor for?
He can hold the floor for 10 minutes.
Okay.
But
How
in
long
that,
has it been?
it's been just shy of 10. You have a couple more minutes.
Thank you.
So could you clarify?
Well, I'm
Mr.
just,
Scott?
your budget's going up to 79 million, but what were some of the things that you did to control costs to keep it from going higher?
So I told you that it was 3.4% out of the gate with the personnel and benefits and minimum wage. The board was able to reduce 4 FTEs due to retirements, and we were able to adjust severance and pensions based on a town report. We adjusted some health insurance costs based on a recalculation. We also have seen some more of our students coming back, so we were counting on continuing to see that number. Remember, I don't know if you remember, when I first got here, I think we were spending over $2.5 million to send kids across the bridge to school, to the magnet schools. But now that we've magnetized and we've got the new middle school, we've brought a lot of kids back to Groton. So there's less costs going out. We always have to be very careful with special education. A student could be moving in from Hawaii and have some exceptional needs that cost the district a lot of money. So we have had fewer outplacement of children, which makes things more efficient for us and less money to pay out. But we never know. It's not something that you have a crystal ball or you can know. That cost is very, you have to be very careful with that.
Thank you, Representative Scott.
I have one more question if I can answer it, or ask it, please.
Last one.
All right. My last question is if we held you to last year's number, what would you have to do to make that work?
I don't know. It would be very tough.
Okay.
I don't know, because we have really gone through it so many times, and we've gone over it and over it to look at it.
Representative Thomas was the next person who had his hand up.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Let's just do a bit of a quick search. I'll send this email link out. There is some language in the CGA of Connecticut that has to do with how to reduce an MBR, but I don't have time to really read it in depth, so I don't want to try to give a synopsis of it, but it's a process. Now, that being said, I'm a firm believer in education. I think education is as important as public safety in a community. However, we are, always looking to try to make efficiencies. So, to that end, I mean, other budgets have been increasing, 4-5% every year, for the past 4 or 5 years, and there's not been many motions coming to cut that or try to flatten that curve in regards to the public safety budget. So, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the public safety budget. I'm going to propose a lesser increase. So mathematically, I got a 2.2% increase from the 77 to the 79 number. So I just kind of split the difference on that. And so I'd like to propose a third number of...
Second number.
Yeah.
Third.
The Second Amendment.
Second Amendment, yep.
Okay. 78,297,681. 78,297,681.
Is there a second?
So yeah, I kind of hinted at it already. Basically, I'm just saying, to be logically consistent, I've tried to have this approach with just about every budget item that's come before us, looking at the percent of increase and then trying to propose just a lesser one, unless it's something I feel is completely vital, or there's not much room to adjust. So that being said, I would like to hear other people speak to the motion. Thank you.
Representative Eben was next.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I have a question. And I was reading the budget book, the specific education budget book on page 1-4, and it has an operating budget, which is in the same amount as on page 166 of $79,157,271. But then it has grants underneath it. And instead of having those grants be deducted from the operating budget as a part of the financing plan, they're added to the operating budget for a total of $86,594.381. And I was just confused by that.
I think that was one of our board members' questions, to see what we're actually spending with the grants.
Oh.
So they wanted just to see what that total calculation. Now with grants, they're designed for a specific purpose, and they're to be spent for that specific purpose.
They're being taken out of the 79 then, is that correct? These aren't inflating beyond the 79.
Yes.
They are?
Well, yeah, we've added on categorical grants for 23, which are in the $3,339,588. The competitive grants are at 409,481, and then the Corona relief, also a specific ARP-ESSER plan related to COVID and learning loss, is at $3,688,041.
So these are in excess of the budget, but they don't create a new...
But they can't take care of operating cost.
Okay.
So
is the new budget, that would be part of that MBR, would that be 86,000?
No.
Because
No,
I've
the
never
board
seen
members
this
were just
method of
curious.
adding grants beyond the bottom line.
they just wanted to know what were those additional funds that we're receiving in grants, and what would that be in addition to what our operating budget is.
Thank you.
Representative Weaver was next, and then we go online.
I have a specific question, I guess a couple. You said on more than one occasion that the pupil impact aid is given back to the town. So I'm highly confused by the graph on 167 when $4 million is under the financing plan. Why are we financing $4 million if it's being given back to the town? My second question is, with the DOD funds of the $2 million, you referenced 1.7 million, of which you said that you've allotted 900,000 for computers. But isn't it true that you used ARPA funds to buy Chromebooks? Why would you need to buy more? And wouldn't that leave a deficit of 800,000 left of those DOD funds? If you could answer those questions, I'd greatly appreciate it.
So one of the charts and graphs that we have in our book is revenue source, the 3D. And that shows you that the town basically pays 48 million of that number. That's the responsibility of town taxpayers. We actually received 26 million from the state, and will continue for the next 5 years. The federal government gives us 4,200,000, I can't even read the number, 86,000. And then there's some miscellaneous. So the gray area is what the town covers, but the other areas are money generated. And impact aid is one of those that is coming in now over 4 million. We've always budgeted for about 3 million of impact aid that comes to the town, and that's revenue directly to the town. But we're getting over 4 million. So that means in the past 4 years, you've gotten another million, another million, another million, and another million to the town to support the town, in addition to what's in here.
So if I may ask the town manager, because you're the town manager, if you can speak to that. I mean, she's saying that one washes out the other. So we're not financing 4 million in impact aid. Can you explain how that washes each other out?
No.
Well, any of those federal or state dollars offsets what the town ends up paying, and their revenue's up, I think about a little over 900,000 this year from those two sources. So it is on the rise, yeah, and it'll likely become more. So it's an offset to what we pay.
So to clarify, you just said
Microphone,
there's
please.
a revenue of 900,000.
Microphone, please.
No, it's extra this year. From what she was just saying, it's up an extra million or so.
It's been up 4 years.
Yeah.
$1 million each year from what we had budgeted.
But it's used for the school budget. So if we're
No,
up,
it's not. Those are extra $1 million.
Okay.
What's used for the school budget in the past several years has been $3 million.
okay. Well, and if you can answer my second question, the DOD funds where you said was 1.7 million, of which you said you slated that 900,000 was for computers, but isn't it true that you used ARPA funds for Chromebooks? Why would you need to get more?
These are Promethean boards that are in the front end of the front end of the school. We use them every day. So they are a technology that we use in the classroom that are quite expensive, but we need them. The new schools all have them, and the old schools need new ones.
Okay, but when you were explaining that, you specifically referenced Chromebooks, and wouldn't the new schools already have them? And that just seems like an excessive amount for Promethean boards. How much are they each?
Can I explain?
Absolutely.
We have had a one-to-one initiative since I got here, Dr. G and I got here. That was really important, especially during COVID, for our kids to take home a Chromebook. We were able to do that with the supplemental DOD funds. We were able to do that because we get about $250,000 each year from DOD supplement. When we got here, there was probably over $1 million, but we were able to get this technology initiative going. So, you know, we've also invest in laptops for teachers and laptops for certain classrooms that are running CAD programs and that kind of thing. So we don't just use Chromebooks. The Chromebooks are what go home every day because they're a little less expensive than a laptop.
Excuse my confusion, I'm still confused. You said the DOD was 2 million, of which 1.7 is the amount you referenced. You said that the technology was 900,000, which leaves an available 800,000 remaining.
Right.
Plus, didn't we use ARPA funds for technology?
We have received technology. As a matter of fact, we received technology during COVID, and we did use ARP-ESSER funds to replace some of the Chromebooks and to make sure that all of our children had a Chromebook at home. So yes, we have been using those funds as well, but I said typically before COVID, we use just the supplemental DOD. This year, there are some technologies, laptops, and these Promethean boards that we are purchasing to go in the classroom.
But back to Representative Evans' question, you stated that we had Corona funds for that as well. So isn't there a duplication of funding, and wouldn't there be excess somewhere that we could trim even so slightly off this budget?
Our ESSER funds were designed to take care of all kinds of health, safety, security. We actually are doing HVAC systems as well in that fund, but they really were for the technologies and the learning materials and taking care of learning loss for students. So they're very specified.
Thank you.
Representative Guimpiero.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So I'm looking at the Groton Public Schools budget book, page 1-7, and I'm looking at the expenditure per pupil. So the expenditure per pupil went up like 7% from 2019, well, I guess it'd be school year 2019-2020 to school year 20 to 21, but yet the budget did not increase at all. And I'm just wondering if there was a decrease in the number of students, or if the 7% increase in expenditure per pupil came from other funds.
I think you're seeing some of our efficiencies with our consolidated program of Groton 2020 in there. You notice also that on that chart of expenditure per pupil, at one point in 2011, we were a variant of over the state average of $231. We then started going below the average. To date, we are $1,318 under what the state average is. To me, that's efficiency. That's what you call that.
Okay, so the consolidation of schools is the reason for the 7% increase.
Well, and I think you see also that the state increase is very similar. So the state increase is, we are actually, widening our variance much less than what the state averages over time.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Representative Dean Shinbrot.
Thanks, Madam Moderator. I just have a statement. I've worked in the Groton school system for a number of years, recently retired. In fact, as president of one of the unions. I have family members who work for the Groton school system also. I'm a huge proponent of education, but I'm also a taxpayer. And I live in a neighborhood where people struggle. And I think we need to give taxpayers a rest. I think that we need to be good stewards of taxpayers' money. I'm not saying the school system isn't, but I think as the RTM, we need to look at this, really think about what we're doing to vote before we vote on these numbers. If we're having trouble collecting taxes, property taxes, as we've heard in this ongoing budget meeting, how are we going to fund an increase if we can't get the money that we need? So I just would like everyone to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Representative V.C. Williams. Okay, then Representative Surf was next. Did you want
her to stay on?
I didn't know.
Did you call on me?
Yes.
Stay on point.
Okay, wait a minute. I think I have to, no, okay, fine. Yeah, I just wanted to actually thank the Superintendent Austin for always doing a good job and really giving a good presentation. I'm also a huge advocate of education. I can't imagine that any education is actually enough for any child, especially when we have such budget restrictions. At the same time, I was looking at your expenses and your revenue sources, because I wondered if the expenses go up, by 10% and your revenue sources are 5%, and then next year your expenses go up by a bit more, but your revenue source is not as large as this year, then we would really be hit. But I can see that most of your revenue sources are pretty steady.
Yeah,
It's
they're
pretty much
increasing.
education, cost sharing, and federal grants. All the other grants that you get are, it's wonderful how many other grants you get. I really congratulate you on that too. But I don't really see a problem with your numbers, and I would find it, I think employee benefits have gone up a little too much, but that's across the board. Your numbers, basically look not only normal, but very reasonable to me, and I absolutely don't see where we could cut, so I'm in support of your total budget.
Thank you.
Representative Casper. My apologies, I did not see your hand raised.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I had one question on the pilot funds.
Yeah.
You said they go into the general fund, but in our budget book, they're shown as financing the school budget, so that the.
And where do you see the pilot funds?
Um,
This is really brand new news.
Oh.
Congressman Conley, Chris Conley had called me to say. Into the microphone. Right.
Well, yeah.
That there were two good news, that we were still Alliance, so we still were secured with that $25 million plus the extra, $100,000 that they give us. But also that there was this $500,000 benefit that would go to the town. It's considered a Tier 1 pilot. Have you looked into that, Mr. Burt? That's very interesting because it goes directly to the town of an Alliance district.
So then if I interpret that, then it would reduce the outlay from the general fund from 48 million down to 48,400,000. It would reduce 500 off of that number.
Well, I would think so if funds come directly. Sorry.
Just to say, we had already accounted for that. We knew about it prior to that.
Okay.
In the earlier governor's budget, so we've already accounted for those dollars.
Yeah, so it wouldn't change the 48,408,734 dollars that the town spends for the benefit of 4,600 students, and the rest of the town lives on. The other 100% of the town relies on slightly less than 50%. I guess that accounts for 53% of the town's funds go to the schools.
I'm going to ask my business director, Ken, could you speak to that about the portion that is supported, the portion of the town's budget that is supported?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
The amount that is being proposed to be supported by the town, $48,362,000, as compared to the amount of property tax collected, we calculated, actually this is last year because we didn't have it at the time of this book, was 48.4% of the town budget.
Okay, because the chart that is put out on page 29 shows education for general fund expenditures as 53.4%. And general, it's down from last year. Last year was 56.3%. But, we spend a lot of money for a small part of our town per population, but we end up cutting the rest of the town to make up for the schools. So it really, I really hope that the school budget is, minimally, is a austere budget. That's all. I just tried to add a little perspective to it.
Thank you, Representative Casper. Representative Frickman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So I just had a question. So I'm noticing the budget. I mean, realistically, it's 1,719,000, but that's mostly wages and salaries, benefits, and with the proposed 2 cuts. So realistically, it's only a $500,000 increase if it's not salaries and benefits. But with a cut being proposed of the 2 of them, what does that look like for the number of staff? Because realistically, the only way to make that number is to cut significant numbers of staff. So how many staff members would you have to cut to meet that number? And what impact is that gonna have on the kids?
A lot, because we wouldn't cut the top teacher, which is maybe 80,000 to 90,000. You would cut the ones that we've been hiring, that are our newer teachers, that really, I think our number is $54,000 for their salary. Mr. Knight, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. So it would be, you know, you do the math, 54,000, you know, how many teachers to get to that $2 million difference? It's a lot of teachers. And our classes are already full at 20 to 25 per class.
Representative Jacome.
Thank you, Superintendent. Just to clarify, I was just trying to focus on everything you're saying. We're still in Alliance District for another 5 years, correct?
Correct.
And after that 5-year period, do we get reevaluated?
Yep, they constantly reevaluate you.
Okay. And I guess the one thing concerning is, as some people, representatives have mentioned, is the minimum budget requirement. But if that were to change, so is it true, is it just a yes or no, that every time we pass the budget, it has to stay, we have to start off at that number, correct, for next year?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else who has a first question? Representative Aubry.
Thank you. I don't really have a question. I still don't understand the amount of money that goes to the town. Maybe we should have something that shows what the town does with it, and it might make a little bit more sense to us, because it doesn't the way that it's set up now. So maybe the town manager could show us what he expects to do with that amount of money that's coming to the town.
That's just part of what pays for our budget. There is no, it's just our budget. There's nothing special.
Everything has a line. I think that should have a line.
Yeah. Well, it all goes into the general fund, though. It's not.
I hate general funds, so that's the disappearing hole.
It's not set to a certain things to spend it on.
Yeah. But over and above that, personally, in my profession, I'm asked about the schools a lot, and I can so proudly talk about them now that I can't. I can share with you how different it is. I used to be making excuses and telling them, you know, we can't tell you about the schools, because we can't. A realtor cannot tell you about the schools. But I didn't tell them to call anybody either. So now I do, and it's making a real difference. And as our housing grows, so will our people wanting to come into Groton again because of the education. So if I can encourage you to stay with the numbers that they're asking for. I have great faith in our superintendent. I have very good faith in our group that works on it so hard to put the numbers together. Kim, you do a hell of a job. And I just think we need to support them. It is a difficult time. When I think about my taxes this year, I want to just, but I don't. You know, I've got to figure out something to do. But we can't take away from the schools. We've got to keep the reputation that we are growing, and the fact that we give very good education. So, but I think it would be interesting, Mr. Town Manager, if we could in the future have a little more explanation of where it goes when it comes out of the general fund. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Representative Wells. Sorry.
I'd just like to speak to the cost avoidance. We hear a lot, we got rid of old schools, we're supposed to save a tub of money, and they want to know where it is. We were fortunate when we when we passed the 2020 plan through the R.T.M. Wes Greenleaf, the former director of maintenance, building grounds, explained, you know, what's wrong with the current schools. And if we had kept those schools, we'd be looking at CIPs as far as the eye could see. And we wouldn't be getting better schools, we'd be treading water. and it would just be, go on and on. And as far as the, if inflation is as bad as dire as some are suggesting, I don't think this minimum budget requirement will be a big burden next year. Thank you.
Representative Cerf is next. I don't see her, so I'm going to move on to Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I want to go back to the DoD funds for a minute. A million years ago, when I went to grade school, we'd start the year, we'd get a piece of paper to fill out, yes, we're a family member of the military, no, we're not. And those forms get passed in, and those forms would generate a revenue source per pupil. Is that the way it still works?
Yes, I think we're going digital. We have a Congressman
Well, it was a million
Courtney
years ago when I went to grade school.
passed a, I have a little added. Congressman Courtney passed a bipartisan bill that was first signed by President Trump and now by President Biden, which was able to keep our numbers stable because we had identified in Groton a problem of getting those forms back. So with that, we've been able to get this extra $1 million every year. So our numbers have gone up. And next year, we really have a super plan of making sure that we collect SNAP data. SNAP data is often linked with Husky. Our military children have TRICARE, not Husky. We are not getting the benefits that we need. So we are going to go after this between the impact aid and those SNAP funds so we can feed our kids and, you know, and take care of their needs. So we do have a plan.
Okay. So how many children are you educating that are considered military dependent children?
So our count was over 1,000, but I did receive from Miranda Chapman on the Navy base that they actually have accounted for, in their numbers, the military has accounted for 1,248 students.
Okay. So, well,
Percentage is about a quarter of our students or more.
So what is the per pupil dollar amount that the military sends you?
Well, it really depends. If they're in the Balfour Beatty housing, I think it's about $3,000 per.
And if they're not, they get more or less?
Well, if they're not military, I think it's less.
I think the question was what are military children receiving? Per pupil? Is that correct?
Obviously, we're heavily subsidizing the military children if they're living in Navy housing. Neither here nor there. I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around how that money is allocated. So you and your board have decided to use that money to buy technology, but really that's not
the same impact aid that we were talking with DOD funds. Those are two different things.
So DOD funds and the money that you get.
So the impact aid is over $4 million that we get every year that goes right to the town to pay for education. So the taxpayers don't have the entire $79 million to pay for. They have $48 million.
Okay, so in looking in the budget, the pupil impact aid of $4.2 million, or this year it'll be $4,094,000. That's the kids filling out the form at the beginning, or the online item at the beginning of the year. Okay,
Right.
So what generates that other Department of Defense funds? Where does that come from? Like, is that based on another form, or how do you get that?
Well, because we are a military district, I'm able to apply for these Dod grants, and we also get DOD, Department of Defense supplemental funds.
Okay, so is it?
And I think we get DOD funds that come directly to you, right, John? As part of it, of the federal funds? Ken, do you know the answer to that?
It does go to the town, and that's what funds that account that we're talking about.
Do you
That
remember
comes
how
from the
much that
Department of
was?
Defense.
The DOD funds, were they used to support education?
Yeah. Yes.
And they go right to the town. But DOD supplement comes to the school to be used for education.
Okay, so is this a grant that's earmarked specifically for something, or just here, Town of Groton, have $2 million and do with it as you please with it?
We monitor it, but we do not have any, we can't use it. It's still for school purposes.
No, I understand that. I'm not saying the town gets to spend it, but I'm saying when it's received by the Board of Ed or the Town of Groton for our school system, is it earmarked for technology, or is it earmarked for just kind of the Board of Ed's general fund?
Not for the general fund, it's for educational purposes. We've chosen, since Dr. Grenier and I came in, we really chose to upgrade our technology, and we've done a magnificent job of getting kids Chromebooks one-to-one.
Right.
We're getting all new Promethean boards that we're not coming back to ask for in our budget, because we're supplying them through the DoD supplement.
Okay, so, but if we were to make a cut of $1 million or whatever the difference is between the 79 and the 77, so it's about $2 million. Could that DoD money be spent, because it's basically in a savings account that's nowhere allocated on this budget, right? So
I
could that
don't know
money
that,
be used
you're talking about a cut that would be personnel, and I can't pay for supplements.
I would argue differently, though. If you've got a $2 million pile of money sitting there, why could that money be used for covering the difference between the 77 and the 79?
Or why can't we use the 4 million that's already come in and the 500,000?
Because it's already allocated in your budget. But yeah, what I'm
Just
saying to you is
talking about the
if
additional.
this board was to decide to cut you to 77 million, the minimum budget rule, could that $2 million DoD money be used to keep you whole?
No, because we've already allocated money and getting the Promethean board, so that's already out the door. So that 1.7
So you've allocated all of it?
The 1.7 is not accurate.
So all of that money that's
Not all,
how much is still left?
like 983,000 that I told you.
Okay, so that's half of it. And what happened to the Promethean boards that were in the schools that closed? Was that technology no longer reusable?
Nope, you couldn't even see the boards. They were so outdated, they were like 12, 15 years old.
Okay.
They have, even with new light bulbs, you couldn't see them.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to really talk about the number. I ran out of time last time, so I'm going to move on to just talking about the number. We've got now basically three options on the board: 78 million, 77 million, and the original number of 79. $78 million resets, under the minimum budget rule, creates a permanent new number that can never change. $77 million sets us back to the original number that the Board of Ed has had for a couple of years. I would argue that's the number we should go to. And 79, I think, sets a really high number that, again, becomes a permanent number. I hate to cut the Board of Ed budget, but I think in this year, again, I've talked about it ad nauseum, where people's taxes are going to be going up quite a bit compared to inflation, or oil bills, or gas bills, et cetera, that it's, I think this is the year where we got to make some cuts. And I've been arguing it across the board for a lot of different things in our budget, and I think this is a good, the 77 number is the number I'm going to support, and I would encourage my colleagues to do the same thing. Thank you.
Representative Thomas, then Representative Chase, and then Representative Surf.
Thank you,
I'm
Madam
sorry.
Moderator.
I'm sorry, hold on. I
That's
missed
fine.
Representative Whitney.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to go back to page 167 in our budget book, and I'd like the town manager to go through the financing plan, but I just want to check to see if my understanding of this is correct. My understanding is that when we look at the adjusted FYE 2022 column, that's a second column from the left, that's what we approved last year. And then what's being asked for, you can look at either the request or the manager one, the two columns on the right, they're the same numbers. So we're contrasting the adjusted FYE 2022 to, say, the manager FYE 2023 columns. If you look at the general fund, the last item in the financing plan, that's the part that we, or anyone else, is they're paying taxes to the town, that's the tax burden. That part of it, that's our town tax burden. And so in last year's budget, that was $47,603,733. The request this year, or the financing plan as part of the request, is for the general fund is $48,408,734. That's an increase in the general fund, coming from the general fund of $805,000, and actually one extra dollar there. So it's $805,001. Okay, so that's a 1.7% increase from.
1.8.
Huh? Is it 1.8? No, we're going from 47 to 47.6 to 48.4. So we're, actually, it's funny, I made a math mistake first before that. But, so I did triple check that. So from 47.6 million to 48.4 million, that's clearly less than $1 million. It's a $805,000. So that's a 1.7 increase from what the financing plan from the general fund, which is what we're all talking about here in terms of tax burden as town people, comes from. The original number, the rest of the increase there comes from the increases in the other accounts that are coming into the town for things like the pupil impact aid. And this is where I'd like the town manager to kind of go through line by line and see if I'm interpreting that correctly. But that's coming from the outside into the town, not through our taxpayers that we pay to the town. That increase is more. It's $914,180. That's coming into the town because we have schools, because we're educating our students, our children. We're a representative town meeting. We should be representing that demographic as well. And we should be spending that additional money on the schools. So we should be at least increasing the budget by $914,000, $180,000. If we don't do that, we're actually giving ourselves a little tax break at the expense of the students, the children. And if you look at either of our numbers, the second amended or the first amended numbers, clearly the first amended number, that's a flat budget. So that's no increase despite more education, funds for education coming into the town. To me, that sounds morally wrong. And then the second one, that increase, that's the $78,297,681. That's an increase from the current year's budget of $859,591. That increase is less than the extra funds the additional funds that are coming in this year. So that doesn't meet the standard of we're using the extra funds for education in this year's budget. It's going somewhere else. So I get a little worked up about this because we've been going through, like, for instance, as mentioned, the public safety budgets and other budgets. And we've been just looking at the realities of, well, costs are going up. And then, well, what can we do? We're in that situation here with the schools as well. And then often we get to funds like the golf club, the Shenandoah Golf Course Fund, or some of the park and rec funds. And we get, oh my goodness, this is a huge amount of money. But then they say, well, this is a pass-through fund because the money's coming from somewhere else, or we're getting state matching funds. Here are matching funds that we're not then going to spend on education. So I'll stop there for what I'd like to say, but I just want to know from the town manager his interpretation of what's in our budget book, page 167, the financing plan.
Well, I agree with your interpretation, so there's really not much more to add. I mean, the revenues are overall up, but it doesn't offset all the increase, so that's why it's only the $800,000 that affects the general fund. Sorry. He's correct on his interpretation. You have the increase in costs, however, it's offset by some extra grant dollars in the neighborhood of $1 million, leaving about $800,000 of actual general fund impact increase.
Representative Thomas was next.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. And I do appreciate the comments, Representative Whitney. I take those to heart and take that into full consideration. Representative Frickman earlier asked about how many teachers would have to be cut in order to make any of those numbers. And your answer, again, point well taken. I'm a teacher myself, not in Groton, but I can appreciate, the risks of such numbers. But just for comparison's sake, I'd be curious to know how many administrators would it take to make that number?
Too many. we're having a hard enough time running these big schools with significant needs. The two new schools have all of our preschool, pre-K, all children coming in from birth to 3 come to our schools, most of them. We also have significant special education programs. Remember when I told you we're bringing back kids from out of district programming? It's because we've done such a fine job of creating these ABA programs for autism and also for behavioral students so that they can be part of the school and be in the classroom and they're not outplaced. So we've done that, but that is an impact on the schools. Having 600 versus 250 at Butler is such a difference. So having one principal and one assistant principal, we knew wasn't going to work, so we had another one split between the two. But that still doesn't work. We really need a trained administrator who understands special education and preschool to be in addition to help support those buildings so that the principal can pay attention to academics and instruction and be very present and any discipline that might occur. So the principal and assistant principal are doing that all day long, and COVID contact tracing took a lot of their time. But hopefully it's in the side view mirror. I know it's not in the rear view yet, but it's in the side view.
Understood. But just speaking philosophically, it would be a lesser number, right?
No, I couldn't give up. You know, we have to evaluate all those teachers as part of this too. And if you take away your administrator, who's going to evaluate your teachers?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I'm just asking, like, for, you know, just for fair comparison's sake, you know, administrative salaries tend to run almost double what an average teacher salary goes for. So
Well,
that's,
they're
there's that.
with
Just saying.
a very experienced teacher, they're a little bit more, but with a brand new
Yes.
teacher, they are more.
Right, understood.
Yeah.
All right. That being said, I mean, I put that number out there just for consideration and conversation's sake as an offering to, you know, for a middle road option. But all things being what they said, I do align my comments with Representative Whitney in regards to all the numbers here, and I'll be voting in favor of the original number at the end of this whole thing, hopefully. So, thank you.
Do you wish to rescind your motion?
No, let's just.
Oh, no, I want to keep it up
Okay.
there for consideration's sake.
Okay. We have Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So, as the town manager has said numerous times, there's a 7.51% increase in taxes right now. Is that correct, Mr. Burt? If we keep this, that's a huge increase. If we keep this budget at the minimum budget requirement, the current MBR of 77 million, our taxes will only, and I say only because it's better than 7.51, be increased to around 6-ish%. That's still a huge increase. I don't know anybody who's gotten a 6% increase in their salary. So that's one consideration. The other one is the chart on page 1-3. If you know, I respect Representative Whitney's comments, but we pay that entire piece of pie, that entire pie. We pay local, we pay state, we pay federal. So the more grants you get, the more everything you get. We're paying for the entire thing, that entire pie. Currently, you're fully staffed, and with the end of the year always comes retirements, teachers leaving, staff leaving. So you're going to have the attrition, you're going to save money there, because even if you hire people to cover them, it's going to be at a decreased salary.
We have that accounted for in the budget. We
All right.
already know what our, who is retiring per their contract. So
When
that's already accounted
when you were
for.
creating
It's
this
cost
budget,
savings.
you know who's going to retire in June?
Yes, we built that into the budget.
Okay, all right. So I mean, I have the utmost respect for you and your staff. I've toured the new schools. They're fabulous. Everybody's excited. I like them. I do. I don't like paying for them for 20 years, but you have to do what you have to do. So again, I'm asking people, please, to keep it at the current MBR of 77 million, because honestly, a lot of people in this town cannot afford even a 6% tax increase. And I think, like I said, I've told you before, Superintendent, I think you're doing, I love hearing your stories about what's going on in the schools. And again, if I could go back, I'd go to your schools again.
I want to go back to my schools. I get to visit them all the time.
But honestly, and no disrespect or that you're not doing a good job, I was elected to look out for the taxpayers, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Gauthier. Representative Gauthier.
Thank you. I'd like to, thank you. I'd like to move the question.
Okay.
It's been 10 minutes since the last one was on?
Yeah, yes, it has. All those in favor of moving the question, please raise your hand. There is a second, yes. I have one. Keep your hands up, please. If you're online and you can raise your hand. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 online, or 17 yeses. All those opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 noes. 13 noes.
How do you vote?
I'm abstaining. All those abstaining?
2.
No, you voted no?
I voted no.
Okay. All those abstaining, 2. So,
It moves.
what is, it moves.
It's
Okay.
Oh, wait.
What were the numbers?
Question is a 2/3, right?
What were the numbers?
You had 12, or excuse me, 17 yes, 12 no, and 2 abstentions. Yeah, you have to have 2/3.
It's 2/3?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna keep going. Representative Surf had her hand up next. I would say that Representative Surf actually voted. One more time?
I think she voted in the affirmative. She had her hand up.
We counted her as yes.
We counted her as yes, correct. Okay, I'm not sure. Representative Casper.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. With the new schools and all that,
Go ahead.
has the truancy rate changed?
Truancy? As in kids not showing up?
Yeah,
Oh.
kids not showing up, yes.
I would say that we've had much more success having kids come to school since we're full in person this year, so that has been a benefit. When they were remote, or when they were in that hybrid, sometimes they would come and sometimes they wouldn't. We did allocate funds through that ARP ESSER to have a couple extra security guards and social workers who went out to the house with the principals and the teachers to knock on doors and get our kids back. And
Okay.
that did work. But
Representative-
I would say it's better.
Representative Casper, I'm going to ask that you keep your questions pertinent to the budget.
Well, it is pertinent to the budget.
Okay.
It's
As-
bang for the buck. I mean, that was one of the reasons that we originally got on the Alliance District, was our high truancy rate, and that was pre-COVID. So I was just wondering.
They call it chronic absenteeism.
Okay,
If you
chronic
had 10
absenteeism.
10 or more days, or actually it's 18 days out of the school year or more.
No, I think it was as high as 20% back a few years ago. What's the number now?
I didn't come prepared with that number.
I don't think it has anything to do with this number. Or, sorry.
But it has improved. Our
Madam Moderator,
attendance rate has improved.
Republicans like to call for a caucus.
Oh,
Okay. We are going to recess for a caucus.
you have any idea how long? You don't know.
Recording stopped.
Representative Merritt? I'm not sure your microphone's
Hang
working.
on, I'm here.
It was.
There you
there
go.
you are.
Now you're good.
The staff that you would lay off,
What's that?
the staff that you would lay off, presumably, how would you get them back? It's hard
That-
to get help now.
That's a very good question, Representative Merritt. We've had a real struggle getting employees. We've been down with our paraprofessionals. We've been having a hard time getting substitutes. We've had principals in classrooms teaching. They've actually enjoyed it, but they really need to be there for safety, security, and instruction. So it has been a real challenge. Our HR director has gone to every fair possible. We've already done that increase for minimum wage, hoping that that would help. So, and we train our teachers so well. All of those grants I was telling you about, they get super training from Columbia University through National Science Foundation. So it would be a shame to lose any of our teachers that are so highly trained to go somewhere else next door. So, and we're talking way too many. We're talking about taking classrooms of 20 to 25, and what are we gonna have, 30, 35?
Well,
I
it's-
don't think that's good.
I perceive it as similar to police departments in the area is, per se, we would train an officer, and if he doesn't like it here, he can go someplace else, and they don't have to train him, they'll hire him.
Yeah, that's right.
And I won't support the middle number, because that's been 3 years in a row, and we're looking at a 4th year. And the people that give us donations, how are they gonna be looking at that?
Thank you.
Representative you good?
No, my question is, the way we're running the budget, the people that give us donations, how are they going to perceive that?
Are you talking about
The
the
reductions.
funds that come in, like
Yes,
the impact
yes.
aid?
Any funds?
Well, I'm not sure how they would feel about that.
I mean, they're putting their money where they think it's gonna make some good.
Right.
And if it doesn't, maybe they won't put the money there. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Representative Weaver?
I just have to say that even though we sustained the budget amount for the last 3 years, through that period of sustaining the budget, we were able to build new schools, which we're going to now have to fund for 20 years. In addition to that, I wrote down the number our town manager said, which was a deficit of $800,000 that we have to meet. But in your conversation with Representative Scott, you said the DOD funds had a plus of $983,000. So in addition to that, to go back to the point where Representative Eben spoke, even though the budget is $79 million, you said that with grants it's up to potentially $86 million. Plus you said next year you're going to be getting more grants from SNAP. So I see more of an excess, and these hypotheticals about losing staff, I think it's just hypotheticals and subjective, because with the amount of money you have and have had for the last 3 years, you have new schools, you're fully staffed, and we're blessed because of the community with DOD and all of these additional grants. So I don't see where it's subjective losing. I think we could potentially maintain if we found a happy medium, like reducing the budget somewhat, so that the taxpayers as a whole don't have to take a full hit.
I'd like to ask a clarifying question before we move on. What percentage of the how much of the DOD grant covers the amount that we lose having Belford Beatty not pay taxes?
Say that again?
So Belford Beatty does not pay taxes, correct?
She doesn't.
Well,
I don't
the
have
Navy
that.
housing, military housing does not pay taxes.
All I know is
Do
that
we know
the
what?
military is going to be using that for military families from now on. They need that housing. We have shortage of housing, if you don't know that.
So it's no longer.
Shortage of housing, so that they will be transferring and making sure that Balfour is used for military families.
Only. Military families only?
Did you tell her that?
Is that a new rule?
Yeah.
Okay, so there, okay, thank you. Representative Gustafson, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just want to go on record supporting the original amount. I think
Representative Whitney made a good point. You know, 801,000 of that is coming from the general fund, and the rest are covered, you know, through other means. And also the fact that they've been zeroed out for the past 3 years. If you add this year in to the average, you know, I'm just doing the math in my head real quick, it's probably somewhere around 0.5% or so increase over the past, you know, 4 years. I think that's reasonable. I don't think it's I don't think it's sustainable to continue a zero budget indefinitely. I know I couldn't do that in my personal budget. So I would just urge members to support that original number. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Cerf. Representative Cerf.
Yes, I have a question for the town manager, because Representative Scott reminded me about these Navy children. When the sub-base turned over the Navy housing that those children are in to a private developer, did we ever manage to get them to pay property taxes, or are they still not, and therefore all those children, and I believe it's not all the children that belong to Navy personnel at that
So
point.
that
Could you
question
help
was
clarify that?
that question was just asked and answered. So the question was answered as the military is now only going to put military, or the Belford Beatty will only be covered by military children at this point, or military families.
But they're not paying property tax.
But they are not paying property taxes still, correct?
They're still not paying property taxes? Is there any reason for that?
Because it was moved a while ago. When it became privatized, the rule of the council at the time was that it was not.
It's not the rule of the council.
It was
It's just
the-
because it's federal land, it's a, you know, court. Can you hear me? It's not, nothing to do with the town council. With federal land, it was tax exempt. That's where it really comes down to. There was a lot of research on whether the buildings themselves could be taxed and or not. We spent a lot of time on looking at this.
Okay.
So.
Any other? Representative Chase.
Thank you. Anybody that works with budgets knows that even though it said 0%, it is not a 0%, like flat budget. When you have to take over $700,000 out of the HSA account, the health savings account, to balance it to a zero, that's not a savings because now it needs to be put back, which over $400,000 is being put back this year. So there's no 0%.
Okay, seeing no other hands raised. Representative Cerf has spoken twice. We're going to vote on the third number, the Second Amendment, of $78,297,681.
Okay. Everybody heard that? We're ready to go. Representative Adams. No. Representative Bailey.
No.
Burrell.
No.
Wright. Casper.
No.
Surf. Yes, just put your thumb up or down, Surf. Representative Surf, up or down? Okay, I'll come back to you. Chase.
No.
Cop.
No.
Crockett Hubbard.
That's a no for Surf.
Okay, thank you. 8. Crockett Hubbard? She's there, but we'll come back to Crockett Hubbard. Dean Shinbrot?
No.
Okay. Eben? No. Frickman?
No.
Fritchie? Gauthier?
No.
Guinipiero?
No.
Gustafson? Hanscom?
No.
Ivy?
No.
Jacome? Massett? I can't hear you, Jackie. That's a no, I heard that. I saw the lips moving. Merritt? No. Norman? Oops, excuse me. Leanne Aubrey? No. Mm-hmm. Powers?
Yes.
Perchino?
No.
Scott? Cimarero? He said no? Okay.
No.
Okay. Thomas?
No, oh, yes,
Oh.
yes, sorry.
Okay. V.C. Williams? No. Watson?
No.
Weaver?
No.
Wells?
No.
White? No. Whitney?
No.
And that's Rusk.
No.
31.
So that fails 2 to 31 to 0. The next number on the board is $77,438,090.
Okay. Can you see it? Adams?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Burrell?
No.
Bright?
Yes.
Casper?
No.
Surf?
Yes.
Chase?
Yes.
Cop? No. Crockett Hubbard? Okay. Dean Schindrott?
Yes.
Eben?
No.
Frickman?
No.
Fritchie? Gothier?
No.
Guinipiero?
Yes.
Gustafson? No. Hanscom?
No.
Ivy?
No.
Jacome? Massett? No?
Can you put a thumbs up or thumbs down?
Jackie?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. Merritt? No. Aubrey? No. Powers?
Yes.
Pacino?
No.
Ray? Oops. Scott?
Yes.
Cimarero? No.
Thumbs up or thumbs down, please? Cimarero?
Up or down? Thumbs up or down?
I don't know what that
No,
is.
that's a no.
That's a no?
Mhm.
Okay.
Thomas?
No.
V.C. Williams?
No.
Watson?
No.
Weaver?
Yes.
Wells?
No.
White? Whitney?
No.
Rusk?
No.
Okay, 10-23.
That fails 10 to 23 to 0. So the final number on the board is 79,157,271.
That was 10-23-0. Okay. Adams? Bailey?
No.
Burrell?
Yes.
Bright?
No.
Casper?
Yes.
Surf?
Yes.
Chase?
No.
Cop?
Yes.
Crockett Hubbard? Looks like I think she's gone. Okay, she's gone for the night. Dean Schindrott?
No.
Eben?
Yes.
Frickman?
Yes.
Fritchie? Gothier?
Yes.
Guinipiero?
No.
Gustafson? Yes. Hanscom?
Yes.
Ivy?
Yes.
Jacome? Massett?
Yes.
Okay. Merritt?
Yes.
Aubrey?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Scott?
No.
Cimarrero? Yes. Thomas? Yes. VC Williams?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Weaver?
No.
Wells?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Whitney?
Yes.
And Rusk?
Yes,
25 to 8.
that
And we-
passes
and we are-
25 to 8.
We have 32 here. That can't be right. That's
No.
33. Yes. Something's wrong.
33.
One,
Okay,
two,
so
three,
that number
four,
passes.
five.
So next up is
5, 6,
CIP 5A, Fitch Athletic Fields on page 226.
24, not 25. 20, that vote was 24-8. We do have 32.
I had 25.
I have 25 to
Yeah.
8.
Impossible.
I had 25-8.
You must have counted, how is that possible? You all have 25. There wasn't possible. Impossible. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24.
How many people do we have in the room?
No, that's 25. Yep. But the problem is,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
25. I hate this. I'd like people in the room.
Are we good to go?
Go for it.
Thank you. I'm going to continue reading the RTM Education Committee minutes from the special meeting on April 28, 2022. We're picking up on CIP 5A, Fitch High School Athletic Facilities, page 226. Motion by Representative Chase to recommend $0 for CIP 5A, Fitch High School Athletic Facilities. Seconded by Representative Frickman. Rationale, this is the amount passed by the Town Council. Passed, 4 in favor, 1 opposed, and no abstentions. Representative Whitney opposed, all other representatives in favor. The original request is $244,000 for regrading and recrowning the football field, as well as adding irrigation. The discussion centered around the current conditions of the field, athlete safety, the many years the upgrades have been needed and requested, uses of the field besides football, the timing relative to the awaited report from the town's athletic fields task force, and whether a change to an artificial turf field is on the horizon. So with that, I guess we'll wait.
We need a 2/3 to restore.
Okay.
What is your motion?
So I will move $0 for CIP 5A, Fitch High School Athletic Facilities.
For clarification, the proposal was 244,000. Council zeroed it out, RTM committee zeroed it out. If anybody wishes to go above 0, we would need a 2/3 vote.
And there are 33 members present. And 33 members, we would require 22 yeses.
Just so we know where we're at. Any questions, comments? Representative Thomas.
Yeah, so question for Representative Whitney. In the discussions about the Athletic Fields Task Force, it's my understanding have they issued their report yet? And if so, has there been a comprehensive master plan for athletic fields, overall like maintenance, repair, and future development? Is that happening? Is there a master plan overall or no?
So I'll answer. The task force has not reported out yet, and I actually had my hand raised to ask the town manager when we expect the task force to report out, because it would have been really helpful in this budget discussion to have that ahead of time.
I anticipate it's still a few months away. They're going to be doing some more public input sessions and some of that, so it's at least 2 to 3 months, I'd say.
Okay, thank you. That being the case, I'm in favor of the 0 number on account of there not being a master plan yet for the overall grand scheme of things. I think we need to take a look at that. A lot of the fields have been in states of disrepair and long overdue maintenance, but one of the things I've gotten from watching a number of the AFTF meetings is that, you know, there's sort of a level of frustration of trying to do it piecemeal, that there's a sort of a rising tide of desire to kind of come up with a comprehensive plan, a long-term plan that'll address the needs of the community and, you know, prevent these sort of patchwork problems in the future. So I'd like to see, I look forward to that report. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Representative Aubry. Can you grab the microphone and stand up, please?
Excuse me. I'm up. I'd like to put the original number on the floor of 244,000.
I'll second.
Audrey
Whitney?
and Whitney.
I don't know if anybody's been there for anything, but it desperately needs repair. And I'm sure that the final report that's going to come out is going to call for that. So if we were fortunate in the fact that somebody else paid for the renovations to our baseball field, or it would be in the same state. We were very lucky to have a gentleman that put $1 million into our baseball field at the high school. So I think that this is, again, something that's very important to the students. There's a lot of their activities that go on down there, and those are very important to the kids in today's world. Thank you very much.
Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The town council talked at length about this, and they did say that because of the task force creating a master plan, if we go and spend $244,000 now on this field, and the report comes out in 3 months that they're going to tear that entire field up and redo it, make it bigger, whatever they do with it, it's a waste of money. I mean, we need to wait, like Representative Thomas said, wait till that task force comes out and see what's going on, that report. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Frickman.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator. I just want to add to what Representative Chase just said, that at this time, we shouldn't be spending money on this field until we know what the master plan is going to be like, especially not really knowing what kind of field it's going to be in the future. And to waste $240,000 now and then ripping it up later on is just a poor waste of taxpayer dollars at this moment. So I am not for this number.
All right. Representative Pacino.
I'm in favor of having a 2/3 vote to see if we even can go above 0.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything to talk about here.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right. Representative Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yeah, the questions in the committee were asked if the possibility, if we were to approve this, if, you know, depending on what the AFTS decisions were, would it actually be ripped up in the future? And I think the answer to that was yes. Like, so if we were to approve the 244, there's a chance in the future they would tear that field up to either reorient it or do whatever they want to do. I mean, I'd love to approve it, but I don't think I could do that in good conscience, knowing that it could be potentially wasted money. So that's where I stand. Thanks.
Seeing no one else with their hand raised. Oh, Representative Aubry.
I was wondering if we could get the opinion of the gentleman that takes care of things for us.
Absolutely.
Introduce yourself, please.
Well, I certainly respect the comments from yourselves this evening. The field is has lost its crown. I have not been able to find in the records when it was last recrowned, and one of the greatest concerns with that is that it does not drain properly anymore, and as a result of that, events may be postponed due to weather conditions. So that would be our greatest concern at this point.
Can I add one? The other thing I had mentioned is we're doing a lot of collaboration with Grosso Tech. We're actually sharing fields, which is wonderful. We have this beautiful spot on the top of the hill with a Grosso Tech, a Fitch High, and a Groton Middle School with these beautiful fields. And the more we can share, I think the more we're going to give our kids space. And so my hope is they've got this beautiful turf field, not far from ours. So I am going to be approaching them. We've already started the share thing and see how that would work. So at least it would be a good field test. So I can get back to you, see how that works.
Could you just introduce our
Sam Kilpatrick,
and his title?
and he is facilities director and everything else, transportation, and what else do you do? Food service.
Band-aids on things. Yeah.
Representative Powers.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This is for Town Manager Burt. Have we looked at ARPA funding for this? Is that something that it could be used for?
Certainly, an application could be put in for it. Those apps are going to be due right around the end of June. Of course, there could potentially be a second round depending how many apps we get. But yes, it would be something you could put in for later.
Great. And do we have any ideas how long the field would be the way it is right now? If we did absolutely nothing and we had a master plan and said we were going to put an AstroTurf field in and have it a multi-field stage, basically football, lacrosse, whatever else, soccer. I think that's pretty much what they build now with AstroTurf. Is that correct? Okay. The question is that's going to cost us millions of dollars at some point in time if we put that in. At least that was the study that I think I saw the last time somebody questioned us about it. I watched part of the task force stuff that they had done and reviewed, and they asked us if we wanted AstroTurf or grass. My question is what's easier to maintain and what's better for the fields?
Well, an artificial turf field still needs maintenance and needs special equipment to take care of that. So it's not maintenance free by any stretch. The numbers that I've heard for the field would be about $1 million for the field, but you would also be doing a new track at the same time because the track would be designed in a different way than it is presently. So it might approach $2 million for the whole project, are the numbers that I have heard in the past. Grass field, I think some of you probably have kids that play football or lacrosse, and a grass field is generally accepted as a safer field to play on regarding knee injuries, ankle injuries, and things like that. But other than that, the artificial turf gives you the option of having more activities on that field, and because it's lighted, going later in the evening as well. So you could have multiple sports using that field throughout the entire year.
Thank you.
Representative Merritt.
I understand that. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to partner with Grosso Tech, and I have seen their baseball team bust down to Sutton Park to use our fields, and they have a perfectly good field over on Gary Court that they have never ever used. Why, I don't know.
They're also using Mystic River Field presently, so varsity from Grosso Tech had a game there just the other night.
So they're using our fields, and I think it would be perfectly a good idea to approach them and partner with them.
That's what we're doing.
And I think this discussion of artificial turf came up once before. A few years ago, Mike Ellis was involved, the athletic director. And I think there was a note made that if you have to replace some of this artificial turf, whoever removes it and hauls it away, they have trouble getting rid of it. And that could fall back on us. Thank you.
Representative Frickman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. And actually, the super kind of alluded to this already, so I thank you, Superintendent. Austin. But I think, once again, it's probably best to wait and hold off until we know what the master plan is, especially since we have the new middle school turf field. We have the possibility of using Grasso Tech. And I think in the interim, it's in the best
you guys-
interest of the taxpayers to hold off and wait until we have a master plan and not just utilize this money now. So, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further hands, I'm going to move the number two, or I'm not going to move them. We're going to vote on the number $244,000.
Adams? No. Bailey?
No.
Burrell? No. Bright? No. Casper? Surf?
Yes. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, no.
Chase? No. Kopp? No. Dean Shinbrot?
No.
Eben? Frickman?
No.
Fritchie? No. Gothier? Did she leave?
She left.
Ah, okay. Guinapero?
No.
Gustafson?
Excuse me.
Hanscom?
No.
Ivy?
No.
Jacome? No. Massett?
No.
Merritt? Okay. Aubrey? Yes. Powers? No. Pacino? No. Scott? No. Cimarero? No. Thomas? No. V.C. Williams? No. Watson? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Weaver?
No.
Wells? No. White? No. Whitney?
No.
Rusk?
No.
Okay, 2
So
to
that
29.
fails 2 to 29.
To 1.
To 1. All those in favor of 0, please raise your hand.
Raise your hand if you're for the 0.
Voting for $0, please put your hand up.
You can put your hand up, Massett
Oh.
and Cimarero, Watson. If you're voting,
If you are voting for the
Yes,
$0 for yes, please raise your hand. I've got everybody in the room with the exception of 1. Oh, with the exception of 2.
and,
Okay.
and 2,
And then online.
Watson
Okay,
and
you can put your
Cimarero.
hands down if you're voting yes. If you are voting no, please raise your hand. I have.
there's, okay, got
I can
Cimarero.
just speak. It's a no for Surf.
Okay, thank you.
Surf.
Cimarero and Watson,
Yep.
Aubrey and Merritt.
No, he didn't vote yet.
Oh.
Did you vote no?
Oh, you vote no.
Vote no? For the
the zero?
$0? No.
Right, you vote no.
No. Okay, so I've got 5 no's. And how many do we have?
That's what I said. Any abstentions, though? I didn't see.
Any abstentions? No.
Okay. And I saw Cimarero.
So we have 31. So that is passes 26 to 5 to 0. All right. So next up is CIP 5B, Charles Barnum Elementary School, found on page 227.
I'll continue with the minutes. As just said, this is CIP 5B, Charles Barnum Elementary School for Charles Barnum Elementary School roof replacement, page 227. Motion by Representative Gustafson to recommend $1 million for CIP 5B, Charles Barnum Elementary School roof replacement. Seconded by Representative Frickman. Rationale: this is the amount passed by the Town Council. Passed 5 in favor, none opposed, and no abstentions. This CIP covers the cost of replacing the school's roof. The current roof is beyond its 20-year life expectancy and in need of replacement. Discussion centered around the current state of the roof and the need to maintain school buildings. So I'd like to move, I will move $1 million for CIP 5B, Charles Barnum Elementary School roof replacement.
I think second was Chase first. Any discussion? Representative Merritt.
I have a question for Mr. Kilpatrick. How many bids brought you to $1 million?
We've had no bids yet. It hasn't gone out to bid yet until the money would be approved.
It hasn't gone out to bid yet, but this is, 1 million is just a speculation?
It's an estimate after having talked to some roofing companies that have worked for us in the past here on Fitch High School.
Representative Chase, I think, had her hand up next. No? Representative Powers.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. With the costs being what they are for material and transportation of materials, do you feel that that's a solid number? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but...
Well, hey, that's all right. I've been on the spot before. I don't think anybody's sure about what numbers are going to be in the near future. We just had a bid on the lights for the Groton Middle School fields, and most people didn't bid it because they were afraid that the numbers were changing on a daily basis. So this may happen again. But that's the number that we have. I might also add that we would submit a grant application to the state for, and we don't know exactly what the reimbursement rate would be this year. The state hasn't determined that yet, but it's been around 50% for us here in Groton over the course of the last 7-8 years.
So, yeah, my other question is this. This is a 20-year roof, and I understand something about all this stuff. And what's the life expectancy, the one they're putting on it? Do we have any idea, like from the estimate that you got, as far as to, I'm not going to whittle down the costs, and you're saying you can get a 50% grant, and I think we should move forward because, it's a critical piece. It's old. Is it leaking? That's the other question.
There are leaks. We've been repairing leaks on a continuing basis there.
And is that something that you could do as a maintenance thing? Not that we want to, but until we get a solid number.
We can, and we have been.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Weaver.
Can you give us an estimate what the total square footage of potential full roof replacement would be?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Could you give us an estimate of the total square footage of, if it were a full roof replacement, what that would look like? Because normally it's priced per square foot when you're bidding it out.
It would be the full it would be the full roof on the school.
I know, but what square footage is that? Do you know, sir?
I don't have it off the top of my head. I'd have to.
Now, and as far as, because you do maintenance on it, like...
It's about 40,000 square feet, I think, that building is roughly, but it has 2 floors in one section, so the roof space might be less than that, but I'd have to measure it or go back to a plan and look at it.
So in your opinion, since you've been maintaining it, do you think it would require a full, complete replacement or a partial replacement, in your honest opinion?
I can tell you that it's beyond 20 years life. I haven't been able to find the grant information. The state used to have a site up until this past year where you could go back and look at all the grants that they've given to a town. Well, they went to a new plan up there at the grant department, and that one no longer exists. So I couldn't go back, and I haven't been able to find anything in the records here on that school. So, but I do know that it's well beyond the 20-year life expectancy.
Well, as with anything new, we've been, just in general these days, old seems to be better. My house is almost 70 years old, and plywood is a lot different than particle board. So you get replaced like with like, and sometimes newer is not always better. So it might be better to make sure there's a full assessment of what needs to be done that necessarily needs to be replaced.
Yeah, that would take place. We would hire an architect who would actually do that study and do the plan for that.
Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Let's see. The roof, the last I recall, the Board of Ed was looking at solar panels and a solar company to contract with. The new roof, would that be part of that plan? Would it be a solar capable roof?
It's a potential, and we're looking into that presently. There have been some indications from the state that they would reimburse solar panels or during a roof replacement. So I haven't got quite clarification from the state grant group yet, but we're working on that. And it is certainly a plan that we're looking at.
All right, thank you. And usually, like, with roofs like this, is it mostly flat there? It's a flat roof?
It's called a flat roof, and
Yeah.
it basically is, but when it's replaced, they add more drains to that, and they actually add styrofoam insulation so that if you looked at the roof now, you'd see that it's relatively flat. It does have some pitch to it, but if you walked on the roof when they're done with it, it's essentially accordion style roof, so that it does drain to different interior or exterior drains.
Yeah, so it could prevent like future pocketing and sagging and
Right,
yeah.
and that styrofoam also adds to the insulation.
Right. So along those lines, there really is no halfway with this. We gotta do the whole thing because it's a redesign at the same time as a replace.
That's correct.
All right, thank you. I'm in favor of the number.
That's a state requirement, by the way.
Understood. Thank you.
Representative Chacon.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is a no-brainer. It's past the 20-year life expectancy. The roof is essential. It hosts one of our biggest military communities, and I would rather have replace it rather than leading to more leaks or possibly to a collapse. So I would definitely urge the solar panels. And thank you.
All right, seeing no further hands raised. The number on the floor is $1 million. All in favor, please raise your hand. We've got 19 in person.
Yeah, Representative
1, 2, 3, 4,
Hanscom
5, 6, 7.
and Representative Cimarero, how do you vote?
Representative, if you are in person, you can lower your hand. I got you. Representative Cimarero, can you put your thumb up or thumb down, please? And Representative Surf, same.
Oh, no, we've got her. She said yes. I can't. He said yes.
Yes.
Okay.
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 So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I think
7, 8 yeses and 1
is
no.
what I'm waiting for, but she's got an up. She's got an up.
So I've got all those opposed, please raise your hand. I have Representative Scott and Representative Dean Shinbrot and Representative Bailey. Anyone else in the room opposed? All those abstaining? I have 2. So that passes 17 to 3 to 2.
Who was the other one? Aubrey?
VC Williams and Adams.
And the 3 were, I'm sorry, the 3 no's were
3 no's were
Cimarero.
Cimarero. No, it was Dean Shinbrot. Scott. Who was my third no? Crap, I had this.
Yeah, that's the card. Who's the third no in-house? Scott?
Who else voted no? Just Scott in-house, so then it was? Bailey. Thank you, Bailey.
Thank you. Okay,
All right.
now we got it.
Okay, I'm going to make note that it is 10:15. We have we have 2 more CIPs for education that I would like to get through, please, so that they don't have to come back. So
Did you announce the vote on that? 27-3-2?
it was 20. No, yeah, it was 27 to 3 to 2 for the last vote. It passed. So we are moving on to CIP 5D, which is the Fitch High School HVAC upgrades on page 228.
Thank you. I'll continue with the minutes. for the CIP 5D, motion by Representative Frickman to recommend $0 for CIP 5D, Fitch High and Barnum Schools HVAC upgrades. Seconded by Representative Chase. Rationale, this is the amount passed by the Town Council. This passed 5 in favor, none opposed, and no abstentions. The original request is $50,000. The superintendent stated that they aim to use ARP-ESSER funds for the HVAC upgrades instead of pursuing funding through the CIP. The upgrades are for the older part of Fitch High School and for Charles Barnum, the oldest elementary school building.
Can I just add one thing?
I've got to move a number. I move $0 for CIP 5D, Fitch High, and Barnum Schools HVAC upgrades.
Seconded by Representative Bright. He was already up beforehand. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
So this $50,000 is really to have a plan, because we really can't do any of this work without a plan. So we do have money in our ARP-ESSER for the plan and also for some of the HVAC systems in both the Vintage Wing and at Charles Barnum. I'm not saying that that's going to fix the entire district, but we're going to at least go with what we have with ARP-ESSER, and I'll come back if I need more.
Representative Merritt.
I'm trying to understand the council's rationale that this project will go forward but funded from elsewhere besides the budget.
Correct?
Yes, we'll be funding it. We will do the plan, and we are going to be upgrading some of the HVAC systems that were really required by law. That's just passed.
I understand that. I'm just trying to understand the council's rationale when I think they could have said, well, we're going to fund it from somewhere else and let us know, instead of just zeroing it out.
That's what they're doing.
That's the indication I get from the paperwork.
Maybe the explanation of the ARP-ESSER funds?
ARP-ESSER is the education.
I understand that, but
component.
I just want to make sure that it's funded and it's going forward.
It is. It's definitely going forward. I got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Representative Whitney.
So I'd like to know, is this part of the earlier HVAC and air quality study that's on the web? I think it's from Fuss and O'Neill, or is this something separate?
That's separate.
I think the one you're talking about is for Northeast Academy?
And there was nothing, that was just for one school, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then is there so these were singled out, I'm guessing, because these are the older schools. But is there a larger planning process in place to look at all the schools in terms of air clearance rates and just HVAC functioning, including the middle school, for instance? Even though it's new, are we up to all the new standards?
We are up to all the latest standards. We were able to meet all the directives from the state and from the federal government regarding COVID, so.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments or questions, the number on the floor is $0. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Online, I have Representative Frickman, Watson, Surf, Mattson.
Yep.
Frickman, I've got everybody, yep.
All-
Okay.
all 10.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that passes 32 to 0. Moving right along, we are on
The
CIP
chairman's not here.
5E, Fitch High School Culinary Arts.
Thank you. I have a point of order at this point. So I'll read the rest of the minutes. This closes out the minutes from the meeting. At that point, before I make the motion, do I make a motion to approve the minutes?
You don't have to.
So that's fine? Okay, thank you. So CIP 5E, Fitch High School Culinary Arts, page 229. Original motion by Representative Chase to recommend $0 for CIP 5E, Fitch High School Culinary Arts. Seconded by Representative Frickman. Rationale, this is the amount passed by the Town Council. First amended motion by Representative Gustafson to recommend $70,000. Seconded by Representative Whitney Rationale, this is the requested FYE 2023 amount passed. The first amended motion failed, 2 in favor, 3 opposed, and no abstentions. Representatives Gustafson and Whitney in favor, Representatives Chase, Frickman, and Junipero opposed. Original motion passed, 3 in favor, 2 opposed, and no abstentions. Representatives Chase, Frickman, and Junipero in favor, Representatives Gustafson and Whitney opposed. The $70,000 requested for FYE 2023 is for planning and specifications for the renovation of 2 culinary classrooms and an adjoining storage room. Construction funding is projected to be $600,000, which would be sought in budget year following planning. The culinary classrooms are in the old part of Fitch High School. Culinary classes are part of the Career Pathway program. Renovation would modernize the classrooms, upgrade electrical, increase the student capacity in each classroom, and allow for more students to enroll in culinary classes. New ovens have been purchased through grant funding. The discussion centered around these points: the cost of planning, the immediacy of the need relative to other CIPs, and trimming this year's overall budget. So with that, I move $0 for CIP 5E, Fitch High School Culinary Arts.
I am going to ask, are there any amendments or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. We are on $0. Who was the second? I'm sorry. Thank you, Representative Adams. Any comments? Representative Aubry.
Thank you. I'd like to put another number on the floor. $70,000.
Gustafson?
If I might?
Yes.
I think it would be prudent to at least do the study, find out what we're really going to need to do. And also, maybe look at the VOTEC. They have a very aggressive classes of the same thing. Maybe there could be a cooperative spirit there too. But I think we should at least look at what it's going to cost and continue to offer this to the students in a proper environment for what they're going to have to try to work in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Merritt.
I'm still curious as to why the council zeroed this out. And I'll say for a point that I had 2 daughters that at a point in time of their education, they chose to go to state schools, one to Grosso Tech and one to Ledyard-Vo Agricultural. And they're both very successful in the business world right now. These are opportunities they never would have gotten in Groton. It's something for us to think about.
Representative Weaver.
In the minutes, I heard them state that the new ovens are going to be by grant. Is there any other ways to get the $70,000 grant money or ARPA money?
That's a good question. We actually get a Perkins grant for careers, and it's really specific for that. You used to hear about college readiness and college and career, and now they're talking about workforce ready. So whether we're talking about increasing the manufacturing pipeline, a kid goes to Grosso and they almost have a job walking out the door. Because they can't all fit at Grosso, and a lot of them like to be Fitch Falcons. So we want to grow our pathways. We actually did receive a STEM grant for the pathways, but it doesn't have anything for planning. So both getting the planning done isn't in those type of grants. So we did look into that.
Thank you very much. My son's hoping to come back, and he wants to go to culinary at Fitch, so I'm for this.
We have 2 super chefs that have been certified teachers, and we really want to grow the whole program and have them wait on people. And, you look at this beautiful section of Connecticut, from the Thames to the Mystic River, and the opportunities our kids have for their first job, for their career, just in culinary. So you're right.
Representative Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm in favor of the 70,000. I think culinary arts is pretty relevant to where we live. Not all students are going to go directly to college, so it offers, a different path forward for them. Got a couple notes here. And, at the very least, it's going to provide, life skills, maybe higher quality life skills. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think if you take the long-term view, it's probably in our best interest to get this moving. And I believe in our committee meeting, the superintendent stated the demand for this class far exceeds the capacity. I think she said something like 100+ students are turned back. And I talked to my daughter, and she confirmed that, so we know that's true. So, yeah, I'm in favor of the 70. I know it's tough times, but taking a long-term view, potentially in the future, students that may go through this program could contribute to the, economic activity of Groton. So I'm in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Frickman?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So just for clarification, and I remember talking about this in the committee, but this is just for a study. Like, the culinary program still exists. The culinary program is going to still have stoves. Our staff will still be able to put the stoves in, from my memory from that conversation. Is that correct?
So this is for just the plan, so we know what we have to do. Anything that is in construction, as most of us know, requires a plan, architectural plans. So that will at least tell us what we need to do. But if you walked through there, those were English classrooms in the vintage side of Fitch. They were not meant to be culinary. And I think when they transitioned over, they were really like the old home ec rooms. And we're talking about doing, really quality. These stoves we've gotten are really quality to have for the kids. So they'll be in an environment that is similar to a restaurant. And, it's better for them going into that trade, even if it's, they decide to do it after school, in high school, or during college, or for the rest of their life. It can be a really good way of living.
I just have a follow-up, sorry. I understand that, and I really like the culinary program. I know at our school we have a great one, but I also know, or I think that it is a possibility that we could hold off on this plan, at least until we know we can get a Perkins grant to cover the cost of this. So
Perkins
won't
pay for that.
In our best interest is to wait a year, apply for a grant, see if we can get the grant, and go that route rather than taking money right now that we don't have to do.
Perkins would not afford a construction project like this. We usually get about $80,000 a year, but they won't. I also looked into them doing this plan for us, and that's not part of the grant. They won't allow that.
So there's no other possibility for grant money available to do this?
Not that I know of, not in any of my grants. And this, for planning purposes, architectural plans, those are hard to really take from an educational grant.
And there's nobody in-house that could do this?
No, it requires an architect. We don't have one of those.
Representative V.C. Williams.
Does this program involve working with the local restaurants to do programs with them to train the students to help set them up with that?
That's actually part of the plan. They've actually won an award recently for their showcasing their work. So we do want to grow this program, and certainly part of the career pathway is to do internships and externships. Internships where our kids get out into the work environment, and externships where the teachers go out into the work environment and then bring back what they've learned to the kids.
So the local restaurants need help. They always need help. They love training from the bottom up, from my experience. Can you tell me a little bit about what your facility is like now and what you're looking to change and upgrade?
Right now it looks like 2 old English classrooms with a lot of goldenrod stoves that don't work real well, and Formica countertops that are peeling, and we can only fit 16 in each room with a big storage unit in between. Okay. So we're hoping to really be able to have many more students taking the course and having industrial style for them and equipment.
And this number, the 600,000, where did we get that number from? But that's our estimate, that's our estimate of what we estimate to spend, correct?
Next year, next fiscal year.
Yes, but I'm wondering, where'd we get this? Have we had people in, please? Thank you.
Again, that was an estimate with the architect. However, it was before, no, it wasn't before COVID, but it was certainly before this latest turn in the economy with the inflation that's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. All right, so just to kind of recap and clarify, the Perkins grant that you referred to cannot pay for a study. Okay. Now, does the Perkins grant and any other extra funding that may be available to help fund this in the future and next year for the construction, do they require plans to be presented as part of the application for those grants?
Well, any kind of construction project, you would need the architectural plans. I don't know if Perkins could help supplement this and pay for it, but certainly we don't receive 600,000 in Perkins. We get like 70,000.
Right, yeah, so there'd be maybe
But it could
multiple
help us
sources.
with a lot more of the equipment that's going into this brand new space.
Gotcha.
You know, we really are focused on culinary. We're really putting our efforts into that area because we know how valuable it is for our students. So we're trying to get one job done at a time.
Understood. So having a set of plans that's developed already, would that increase your chances of getting approval for grants and other sources of funding? And also for the town manager, as a parallel question, as far as like ARPA funds go, is this within the purview of ARPA funds? Could those be allocated towards this sort of operation or no?
I believe so. I, of course, want to run it by our ARPA coordinator, but I think it would be.
Okay. But, and
Certainly the equipment itself.
right, so the study would advance the cause towards getting grants and justifying the funding perhaps, because you might have to actually explain what you're doing with the money.
I think I have till June to put it in.
Okay. Yeah, that being said, I'm inclined to be in favor for the 70,000, so, thank you.
Representative Surf? No, she did. She's trying to unmute herself.
Okay,
There we
I
go.
found another way to unmute myself. Yeah, I would like to say that I don't understand why this program, which has been implemented at Grasso absolutely beautifully, why we have to reinvent the wheel by using a lot of space and money to reinvent it at Fitch. The kids who want to do this, want to learn a profession while they're in high school, should go to Grasso. That's why Grasso was invented. I'm really not in favor of a big culinary program at Fitch to just duplicate the wheel.
Can I just add this, Representative Sir? We have over 1,000 students at Fitch High School. I have to get them ready for college, career, and workforce, and they're not all going in the same direction. We do partner with Grasso. They're going to do an after-school program in broadcasting and multimedia, which we don't have at Fitch. So for those things, it's great, but there are too many of our students wouldn't fit in Grasso of all the kids who want culinary. They don't fit at Fitch right now, but I'm hoping with this study and the improvement, we'll be able to do that so all of our kids in Groton have that opportunity should they choose it.
Representative Pacino?
On that same note, would some of this next year's $600,000, could you work in concert with Fitch? I mean, sorry, you are Fitch. Work in concert with Grasso so you can have both student bodies participating in culinary arts in your building?
That's an interesting idea.
'Cause
We are
I'm sure-
partnering, we're partnering with band and robotics and all kinds of things.
I'm sure if you are turning away culinary arts students, they are too.
It would make a good competition. And we could all go and eat.
And you're
own risk.
Absolutely, because you both have restaurants.
Representative Jacome was up next.
Yeah, I was able to, I attended Fitch 2010 to 2014, so it's definitely a program I did. I did take Foods 1 and 2 and Culinary 1 and 2, so I did, was able to see how that room is built. It's not the best, so I am in support of the program. Now, currently at this time, I would not be in support of the program, but it's definitely something to keep in mind going forward in the future. I do think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Representative Weaver.
So since your education budget just passed with flying colors, we were able to get out of that particular meeting that you had $983,000 in excess DOD funds. What proportion of the 1,000 students that you turned away were military students, and couldn't those funds be used to do this study?
I'm not sure. I'd have to find out about that, because there are parameters in it, so I'd have to find out.
But would you be willing to use a portion of those funds, since your budget was granted in its entirety, to do this study, since they are excess, that you personally stated was $983,000?
I would ask that you just watch your decorum, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize.
And I just want to specify that even though it's Department of Defense and it's meant for military children, it's really meant for all of our Groton children. They all receive benefits from that. I want that to be really clear, and the Dod Grants as well. Serves us all.
Chair Whitney.
For me, this isn't my main comment, but in our discussions about the education budget and just now, I think there's been a little meshing together of a categorical grant and a grant that comes through the town for federal impact aid. And, oh, sorry. So anyway, I think the defense grant you're talking about is a categorical grant, and so it has specifications, and that's handled differently than, say, the federal impact aid. But my main point is that we've considered 4 CIPs. We've funded 1 so far, and this one is for $70,000 for this year for planning, and that's not going to impact either way really anyone's taxes. It's not a big enough number. But what it could impact is 1 year, if we do it this year versus next, or how many years worth of students that want to take culinary arts but are turned away now. This is, as it's said by many, this is a life skill. It's might be a vocational skill or just entry to the first job. And so along with that, that's an empowerment skill. And that's what these career pathways work towards. Really, all of them do. And actually, this is a course that my guess is most students are excited to take. And to get students excited about classes, that's a win, because that effect, and being in a classroom that looks like it's from, well, this millennium, which it isn't right now, that helps too. And that has a broader effect than just on what they're doing in this course or how they're going to use that life skill right away. It's how they view their education, how they view, am I someone that the school system is valuing? Are my needs, my most important needs, being met? And so you do have to provide many opportunities, many routes. And so I think the $70,000 for planning, though I always have sticker shock when we talk anywhere about how much it costs to do a planning, I think it's worth it because you need those professional architectural plans to then get access to the funding that would more than offset what you've done if you just, I got a guy, he can do this. So I think it's worth funding this year for sure, and this is part of the Fitch building that's very, very old, and we have many new school buildings. This part is not, and so we have to think about upkeep and modernizing this part of the building as well. The only other point I'd say is I certainly support the mission of Grosso Tech, and it's geographically quite close to Fitch High School. It's easier going down than coming up because it's downhill, uphill. However, the partnerships that we've heard and that have been explored, those are extracurricular after-school activities. This culinary arts program, it will have those associated with it, I would guess, but really we're talking about curricular school day activities when students need to stay in their building, otherwise they can't get to their next class. Even that's tough sometimes. So even though it's geographically close, time-wise it's not close, and it's just not really feasible to think of having students go back and forth between buildings, just in terms of time, let alone anything about interchangeable IDs or anything like this. So I don't think I'm still talking.
Hold on, let him finish talking.
Jeez. So anyway, I'll stop. I think the $70,000 is a great investment, and just think you're getting, if you prove it this year, we get access to another year's worth of kids' futures. Thank you.
Okay, I only see one more person with their hand up.
It's probably to move the question.
Wait, do you want to say it?
Did you say I could talk?
Representative Frickman.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator. I'll make it quick. I just wanted to add that, seeing that there is a possibility that we could possibly get this money in grants, and it's not a definite no, I think it's important for us to hold off. And since it's possible we could find money in a grant opportunity, that would be doing a disservice to taxpayers to just pay for this right now. So, thank you.
All right. Moving, yes.
Just a quick response. Usually what it works out is we need the plans to then seek the grants. That's what we've seen from, many, many accounts through this town budget this year, and we'll see it every other year too. So we do the planning first, then you seek out the grants.
Okay. CIP 5E in the amount of $70,000. Roll call, please.
Adams? No. Bailey?
No.
Burrell? Yes. Bright? No. Casper?
Yes.
Surf? No. Is that a no? Okay. Chase? No. Cop?
Yes.
Dean Shinbrot? Did she? She did. Okay. Down to 32. Eben?
No.
Frickman?
No.
Fritchie? Guinipiero?
No.
Gustafson?
Yes.
Hanscom?
No.
Ivy?
No.
Jacome?
Jacome.
Jacome? Oh, no. Massett? Massett? Jackie?
You're muted.
She says yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Merritt? Yes. No, Aubrey?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Pacino?
Yes.
Scott? No. Cimarero?
Yes.
Ooh. Thomas?
Yes.
VC Williams?
No.
Watson is gone.
Yes.
Oh, you're there. Good.
Oop.
Weaver?
No.
Wells?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Whitney?
Yes.
Rusk?
Yes.
16 to 14.
So it's 16 to 14. We need a two-thirds
Yep,
vote,
sorry.
so that fails. So we are now voting on the number 0. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Piero, Massett, Cimarero, Surf, are you not voting? Ivy?
Ivy, no.
All those against is Thomas is against. Whitney, Gustafson, Watson, Massett, Surf, Rusk. So that passes, oh, yep, I got Thomas, 1, 2, 3, 4. Any abstentions? So that passes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, minus, what do we have, 31?
31.
So 24 to 7 to 0, that passes at $0. I make motion to recess from Representative Kopp, seconded by Representative Bright.
We're recessed
We are recessed.
Thank you all.
At
Appreciate it.
10:48. Thank you all very much.